Chapter 2892 Fighting a Supreme. Once more the information contained in the pangolin's soul was very scattered. However, Lu Ming still managed to capture some useful information. In a certain location on this planet there was a very strange place. Many pangolin creatures lived there. There must be something wrong with this abnormal situation. Perhaps there's an array plate in that place. Even if there's no array plate, there are other treasures. It's worth it to go. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Lu Ming, have you found anything? Ouyang Qingxiang asked. We've found something strange somewhere on this planet. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming said. At once, Lu Ming headed in a certain direction according to the information he obtained from the pangolin's soul. As they headed in this direction, they were constantly attacked by the pangolin creatures. The number of pangolin creatures seemed to have increased in this direction. Fortunately, the cultivation of these pangolin creatures wasn't very high. They were all at the first-level heavenly deity realm, and he didn't encounter any second-level heavenly deity. Although first-tier celestial deity realm cultivators had powerful defense, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang did not feel any pressure, and continued to charge through. 2 days later they arrived at a hill. From a distance the hills looked like giant red rubies embedded in the ground, shining with a brilliant light. From time to time, pangolin creatures could be seen crawling across the hills. According to the pangolin's memories, that special place was at the center of the hill. Boom! Boom! At this moment, a series of rumbling sounds came from the depths of the hill. In the distance one could see beams of divine light shooting up into the sky and breaking through the firmament. On the hill there was a huge battle. Who is it? Could it be Supreme Universe and the others? Ouyang Qingxiang's eyes flickered as she asked. It's very likely that the pangolin creatures have all gone inside. Let's go in. Lu Ming said. Within the hill, the pangolin creatures heard the commotion and ran towards the depths of the hill. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang restrained their auras to the extreme and quietly followed. Not long after, they arrived at the depths of the hill. He saw 5 figures fighting with a group of pangolin creatures. It's them indeed. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang exchanged glances. The 5 who were fighting the pangolin were the Supreme Saint Sun and the Transient Light Saint Sun. There were a few hundred pangolin creatures that were constantly attacking the Supreme Holy Sun and the other 4. However, although there were many pangolin creatures, their cultivation wasn't high. Most of them were first-level heavenly deities, only a few were second-level heavenly deities. As for third-level heavenly deities, there wasn't a single one. The Supreme Holy Sun and the other 4 had the upper hand. They kept breaking out of the encirclement and rushed towards a hill. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang's eyes also swept over the hill, and their eyes suddenly lit up. There was an altar on the hill. It was not tall, only a meter or so. Runes were shining on the altar, and a bronze token was floating above it. An array plate. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang's heart skipped a beat. It was very likely that this was the array plate they were looking for. They didn't expect that there would really be an array plate here. Their luck was pretty good. One had to know that there were only 12 of these array plates. Charge! We must get this array plate. The Supreme Holy Sun roared. At this moment, he had already transformed into the body of the Supreme Guardian Deity. His body was huge and he kept punching out with both fists. Every punch could send a pangolin flying. Some even exploded. Even though the pangolin had a strong defense, it couldn't withstand the Supreme Holy Sun's full-powered attack. The Floating Light Saint Sun and the others followed the Supreme Saint Sun on both sides. They attacked continuously and quickly approached the altar. This array plate is mine. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a cold smile. Since he had encountered it, how could he let the Supreme Holy Sun and the others get it? Let's go. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang moved and rushed toward the altar. Most of the pangolin creatures were surrounding the Supreme Holy Sun and the rest. They did not notice Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang at all. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang were unimpeded. Only a few pangolin creatures attacked them, but they were easily sent flying. They quickly approached the altar. Lu Ming, the Supreme Saint, also noticed the 2 of them and let out a furious roar. He was even more furious when he saw the 2 of them approaching the altar at a high speed. Don't even think about. The Supreme Holy Sun roared. He didn't care about his own defense and allowed the pangolin creatures to attack him. He rushed towards the altar in a frenzy. In this way, his speed was indeed much faster. However, he was still slower than Lu Ming. Very soon, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang were less than 1,000 meters away from the altar. At this moment, they finally alerted most of the pangolin creatures. Many of them charged toward Lu Ming and Lin Feng. Song of the Green Lotus Sword, die! Ouyang Qingxiang shouted. With a wave of her hand, green lotus flowers appeared around her. Boundless sword chi burst forth, aiming for the pangolin's mouth and eyes. Immediately, many pangolin creatures were killed. Ancient God body. Lu Ming immediately used the ancient god tactic. His body grew rapidly, turning into a green-armored ancient god that was more than 200 meters tall. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming waved his long spear and used army obliteration, sending more than 10 pangolin creatures flying. Lu Ming strode forward. In a few steps he was near the altar. Then the long spear vibrated and blasted the pangolin creatures away. He then stretched out a large hand and grabbed the array plate. Lu Ming, you dare! The Supreme Holy Sun roared in anger and tried to rush forward, but he was still a step too slow. Lu Ming grabbed the array plate. There was nothing unusual. Lu Ming held the array plate in his hand. Lu Ming, I found the array plate first. Hand it over. The Supreme Saint roared and finally rushed over, throwing a punch at Lu Ming. The dazzling fist radiance was like a golden sun, crushing toward Lu Ming with terrifying power. Lu Ming fired a shot with the backhand. Boom! Their attacks collided with each other, creating a deafening boom. Rings of energy spread out, sending many pangolin creatures flying. Bang! Bang! Their huge bodies swayed and they both took a few steps back. Don't you know that whoever sees it will have a share? Besides, you've only seen it and haven't obtained it yet. Why can't I do something? Lu Ming sneered in response. Then you'll die, Paragon Divine Fist. The Supreme Holy Sun roared and swung his fist at Lu Ming. Lu Ming put away the array plate and waved his long spear to kill the Supreme Holy Sun. Roar! 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 During the battle, Lu Ming cast the Divine Dragon Phenomenon art. 3 huge 9-clawed divine dragons appeared in the sky and pounced toward the Supreme Holy Sun. Chapter 2894 Killing with a Borrowed Knife. Lu Ming and the Supreme Holy Sun were engaged in an intense battle. The two of them had just exchanged blows some time ago. At this moment, Lu Ming still had the upper hand. Lu Ming had used all his techniques. After exchanging more than a dozen moves, Lu Ming had the upper hand. The Supreme Holy Sun was no match for him and kept retreating. Quickly come and help me! The Supreme Holy Sun roared. Behind him, the Floating Light Saint Sun, the Jixia Saint Sun, and the others also rushed up. Floating Light, your opponent is me, die! Ouyang Qingxiang shouted coldly and charged toward the Sacred Sun. Ouyang Qingxiang and the Sacred Sun of Reflection were both at the 5th level heavenly deity realm. The two of them were engaged in an intense battle. As for Saint Sun Jixia, Saint Sun Yin Kong, and Saint Daughter Xuetan, their cultivations were much weaker. Just as they rushed toward Lu Ming, they were swept away by Lu Ming's spear and almost spat out blood. They could not interfere in the battle between Lu Ming and the Supreme Holy Sun. After a few more moves, the dragon claws of a 9-clawed divine dragon clawed on the Supreme Holy Sun's body, leaving a few deep wounds on his body. The Supreme Holy Sun roared and punched the 9-clawed divine dragon Dharma Laksana to pieces. However, Lu Ming had the measure formula. Divine power gushed into his body continuously. 3 9-clawed divine dragons were formed once again. There were still 9 ice chains. Once they were destroyed, Lu Ming would condense them again, not caring about the consumption of divine power. Damn it, damn it! Lu Ming, just you wait! The Supreme Holy Sun roared and turned to leave. He knew that it was impossible for him to snatch the array plate back now that Lu Ming had it. It would be disadvantageous for him if the battle continued. The Supreme Holy Sun turned and left. The Transient Light Holy Sun and the others didn't dare to continue fighting. They hurriedly followed the Supreme Holy Sun and ran away. They quickly broke out of the pangolin's encirclement and left this place. Lu Ming did not give chase. Although his combat strength could suppress the Supreme Saint Sun, defeating and killing were two completely different things. It was impossible for him to kill the Supreme Saint Sun with his current strength. We're leaving too. Let's go, Lu Ming said to Ouyang Qingxiang. Then the two of them charged in another direction. After breaking out of the encirclement, they disappeared from this world. More than 100,000 miles away, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang found a place to rest. 2 days later, when the two of them had recovered to their peak condition, they continued their search on this planet. Unfortunately, they searched this planet for a full 7 to 8 days without finding anything. It seems like there's only one array plate on this planet. Let's go to other planets to take a look, Ouyang Qingxiang said. Alright, let's go to that planet. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and pointed to the sky. Above their heads there was a fiery red planet floating in the air. This planet was closer to the star. Alright, Ouyang Qingxiang nodded. Immediately, the two of them shot into the sky and turned into two beams of light, flying toward the planet. Not long after Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang left, 5 figures appeared in a secret place not far away. They were the Supreme Saint Sun, the Transient Light Saint Sun, and the others. What should we do now, Supreme Universe? The Sacred Sun of Reflection asked. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang must die. The Supreme Holy Sun gritted his teeth as his eyes flashed with a sinister light. I'm afraid we can't kill Lu Ming and the rest with our abilities, Holy Maiden Xuetan said. If we can't kill him, someone else can. Back in the land of the ancient god, Lu Ming killed the Holy Sons of the Unique Devil Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect. Both of these forces want to get rid of Lu Ming. The Supreme Holy Sun said coldly. You want to kill with a borrowed knife? The eyes of the Sacred Sun and the others lit up. That's right. Right now, Emojuri and the others from the Unique Demon Academy are on that pitch-black planet. Let's go there and inform Lu Ming of his whereabouts. Moreover, Lu Ming has an array plate on him. I believe that Emojuri will definitely take action, the Supreme Saint Sun said with a murderous aura. He glanced at the Sacred Sun of Reflection and the others and continued. As long as Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang are dead, the Kongxian sect will still be mine. I promise that I will not mistreat you in the future. Rather than letting the Kongxian sect fall into Lu Ming and Ouyang Xiangxiang's hands in the future, it's better to let you, the Supreme Universe, make the decision. Let's go, we'll go find Emojuri and the others, the Sacred Sun said. The 5 of them immediately flew toward the pitch-black planet where the Unique Devil Academy was located. Oh! Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang did not spend much time and landed on the fiery red planet. The environment of this planet was even worse. This planet's gravity was stronger than the previous one, and the temperature was shockingly high. It was difficult for ordinary creatures to survive. After the two of them arrived on this planet, they started searching everywhere. This is red mist gold. Not long after, they found a few pieces of strange metal. Scarlet mist gold was an extremely rare material for forging weapons. It could be used to forge supreme-grade divine weapons used by god kings and was extremely precious. The two of them were overjoyed. What Dragon Boat Mountain said was right. In this galaxy there were indeed other treasures besides that array plate. This metal is also very useful to Qiuqiu. It will definitely be of great use to him if he swallows it. Lu Ming pondered. At the thought of this, Lu Ming looked at the bracelet that Qiuqiu had transformed into on his wrist. Ever since Qiuqiu had swallowed the bronze from the bronze altar in the ancient god world, it had been in a deep sleep. It still showed no signs of waking up. There were 2 pieces of crimson afterglow gold in total. Initially, they were going to split it evenly. Lu Ming wanted to buy it from Ouyang Xiangxiang with divine crystals, but Ouyang Xiangxiang shook her head and gave the crimson afterglow gold to Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and kept it. After that, they continued to search the planet and found many precious metal materials. Ouyang Qingxiang knew that these metal materials were very useful to Lu Ming, and gave them all to him. She only took some divine crystals as a token. While Lu Ming and the rest were searching the planet, the Supreme Saint and the Transient Light Saint had already found Emojuri and the rest. Supreme Universe, you actually dare to take the initiative to find us. Aren't you afraid that it'll make a move and make you stay? Emojuri sneered at the Supreme Holy Sun and the others, killing intent flashing in his eyes. The Supreme Saint Sun, the Transient Light Saint Sun, and the others' expressions changed slightly. However, they weren't ordinary people and quickly calmed down. Emojuri were not a threat to you at all. The real threat to you is Lu Ming, the Supreme Saint said. Lu Ming? You think that kid is a threat to me? Emojui's eyes glinted coldly as he revealed a strong sense of confidence. That's right. Without a doubt, the divine power that Lu Ming controls is also divine-grade divine power. He has also mastered a few extremely terrifying secret skills. His combat power is astonishing. If his cultivation level increases, he might be able to fight you. Also, he already has an array plate, the Supreme Saint said. Chapter 2894 Surrounded. Oh, there's an array plate? Emojui's eyes lit up and he looked at the Supreme Holy Sun with a faint smile. Supreme Universe, I know that you want to use me to get rid of Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming has repeatedly offended our unique demon academy and killed our Holy Sun. He deserves to die 1,000 times. Even if you don't say it, I will still kill him. Hehe. We're not borrowing your power. We're working together to get rid of Lu Ming. The array plate will be yours. We'll each take what we need, the Supreme Saint said. Whatever. Tell me, where is Lu Ming? Emojuri said indifferently. It's on that planet. The Supreme Holy Sun pointed at the fiery red planet in the sky and said, All right, let's go to that planet then. A cold glint flashed in Emojui's eyes. He took the lead and soared into the sky, flying towards the planet where Lu Ming and the rest were. At the same time, the other experts from the Unique Devil Academy also followed Emojui. Lu Ming, let's see how you die this time. A cold glint flashed in the Supreme Holy Sun's eyes. Then he, the Driftlight Holy Sun, and the others followed the people from the Unique Devil Academy and rushed toward the planet where Lu Ming was. Not long after, Emojui, the Supreme Holy Sun, and the rest landed on the planet where Lu Ming was. However, they could not find him after looking around. Could Lu Ming and the rest have left this planet? A genius from the Unique Demon Academy said. I don't think so. They just arrived on this planet not long ago, so they'll definitely spend some time searching. It's just that this planet is very large, so we haven't encountered them yet, the Supreme Saint said. Then we'll split up. Four-eyed, you take a few people with you and move together with Universe Master and the others. I'll take a few people with me. Remember, once you encounter Lu Ming and the others, immediately send me a message, in case he gets away, Emoji ordered. Yes, once we meet Lu Ming, he won't be able to escape, Four-eyed Kongting said with confidence. The eyes of Universe Master flashed, but he didn't say anything. He knew that this was the best arrangement. The Four-Eye Void Courtyard's combat strength was not any weaker than his. If he joined forces with the Four-Eye Void Courtyard, he would not have to fear Lu Ming. Once Emoji arrived, Lu Ming would be dead for sure. After the distribution, Emoji brought the few Heaven's favorites and left. Four-Eye Void Court and Supreme Universe took a group of people and set off from another direction. Oh! Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang had no idea that the Supreme Holy Sun had joined forces with the Unique Demon Academy and had already arrived on this planet. They continued their search on this planet. This planet really didn't have any living beings. They could only search in the dark. One had to admit that they were really lucky. 2 days later, they found an altar in a canyon. Above the altar, there was a bronze array plate floating. There were only 12 array plates in total, and they actually saw one. This luck was indeed amazing. The two of them were overjoyed. Just as they were about to fly over and take the array plate, a few figures rushed over at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Lu Ming and the rest, blocking their way. Supreme Universe, it's you again. For Eyes Void Court, why are you two together? Ouyang Xiangxiang's eyes suddenly changed after she looked around. Send a message to the Divine Child. At that moment, Four-Eye Void Court ordered one of the geniuses from the Unique Demon Academy to send a message to Emoji. As for himself, his 4 eyes flickered with a cold light as he stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang. Let's see where you can run to this time. The Supreme Holy Sun's figure flashed and appeared behind Lu Ming and the others, blocking their path of retreat. Supreme Universe, you actually joined hands with the people from the Unique Devil Academy? To deal with the disciples of Kong Xian's sect? Ouyang Qingxiang angrily shouted. Her face was ugly as she looked around. She was afraid that Emoji would be nearby, and that would be dangerous. However, she heaved a sigh of relief when she did not see Emoji. Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, it's your fault for being so stubborn and going against me. You deserve to die 1,000 times. The Supreme Holy Sun roared ferociously, then said to Four-Eyed Empty Court, "For Eyes Void Court, let's attack together and stall Lu Ming. There's no need for us to join forces to deal with a mere Lu Ming. Supreme Universe, I think you're becoming more and more useless. Let me do it." Four Eyes looked at the Supreme Holy Sun in disdain. He could clearly sense that Lu Ming's cultivation base was only at true God level. He did not believe that a true God-level person could go against him. Boom! An NBS Padai. Four-Eyed Kong Ting's body exuded a berserk energy, vast divine power surging out. He was a 6th-level heavenly god with 4 eyes. He was the same as the Supreme Holy Sun, a 6th-level heavenly god who could control the divine power. Kill! With a wave of his hand, Four-Eyed Void Court's fingers shot out beams of spear radiance. They were sharp and dazzling as they charged toward Lu Ming. Ancient God Tactic Space Breaking. In an instant, Lu Ming cast the Ancient God Tactic and transformed into the Ancient God body. He continuously thrust the long spear in his hand and destroyed the spear radiance in the void. The body of the Ancient God. You've also cultivated the body of the Ancient God. The Four-Eyed Void Beast roared in disbelief. Its 4 eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. It turned into a stream of light and charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, his 4 eyes glowed. Then 4 terrifying beams of light burst out and shot towards Lu Ming. The power was extremely terrifying. Break the air, Lu Ming continuously cast the first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, shaking the long spear. In an instant, terrifying spear radiance shot out and blocked the Four-Eyed Void's attack. He's so strong. How is this possible? At this moment, the Four-Eyed Void was shocked. He finally knew why the Supreme Holy Sun had been defeated by Lu Ming. It was not because the Supreme Holy Sun was useless, but because Lu Ming was too abnormal. A dragon's roar rang out as Lu Ming cast the Divine Dragon Materialization technique. He used all sorts of techniques to attack the Four-Eyed Void. The Four-Eyed Void Court's combat strength was indeed very powerful. It was not weaker than the Supreme Universe. The attack that burst out from its 4 eyes was especially terrifying. Even Lu Ming was rather afraid. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than a dozen moves. The more they fought, the more shocked Four-Eyed Void was. He felt that he was no match for Lu Ming. Supreme Universe, attack together. The 4 eyes Void Court roared. I already told you that we're going to attack together. The Universe Supremacy mocked him. Then, he transformed into the Supreme Guardian Deity and charged at Lu Ming. The two of them joined forces and Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. On the other side, the others charged toward Ouyang Qingxiang, putting her in a precarious situation. We can't stay here for long. Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind and planned to leave first. Even Universe Master or Four-Eyed Void Court were no match for Lu Ming on their own. However, if the two of them joined forces, Lu Ming would be no match for them. At most, he could only protect himself. Chapter 2896 Encountering Emojui. Even if Lu Ming could protect himself, Ouyang Qingxiang was still in danger. Therefore, Lu Ming could not be bothered to fight with the other party. Explode, explode, explode. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The 3 9-clawed divine dragons suddenly exploded and formed a terrifying wave of energy. The Supreme Vajra, which was transformed by the Supreme Holy Sun, was pushed back continuously. Lu Ming took the opportunity to break out of the encirclement and charged toward Ouyang Qingxiang. At that moment, Ouyang Xiangxiang was fully focused on defense. Green lotus flowers floated around her to block the attacks from the outside. But she was still in a precarious situation. This was because there was an existence stronger than Ouyang Xiangxiang in the unique Demon Academy. Even if Ouyang Xiangxiang focused on defense, she would still be in great danger. Get lost. At this moment, Lu Ming had arrived. The long spear pressed down, turning into a dozen huge spear shadows that pressed down like a mountain range. Boom! 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 The spear radiance pressed down, emitting a terrifying vibration. The expressions of the floating light Holy Sun, Jixia Holy Sun, Yenkong Holy Sun, Shueten Holy Maiden, and the 6 Holy Sons and Holy Virgins of the unique Demon Academy all changed. Then with a long roar, each of them burst out with their strongest attack, blasting toward Lu Ming. Boom! 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 A terrifying tremor erupted, and then more than 10 figures retreated. The sacred son of reflection and the other top 10 experts were forced back by Lu Ming's attack. They were at least 100 meters away. Some of them with weaker cultivations even trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. How terrifying! The same thought emerged in their hearts. They were also saints, but even with so many of them joining forces, they were still repelled by Lu Ming in one move. Some of them were even injured. Lu Ming's strength shocked them. Let's go. Lu Ming rushed past her. A stream of divine power wrapped around Ouyang Xiangxiang and they ran forward madly. Where are you going? Chase! Universe Master and Four Eyes Void Court shouted and chased after Lu Ming, followed by the others. The two sides, one chasing and one escaping, covered thousands of miles in the blink of an eye. However, Lu Ming's speed was even faster. He was like a flying ROC, and the distance between him and Universe Master, Four-Eye Void, and the others was constantly widening. Damn it! Supreme Universe bellowed. The killing intent in his heart was already incomparably thick. Lu Ming had to die. Otherwise, the fact that he had joined forces with the people from the unique Demon Academy to kill Lu Ming would definitely be exposed. By then, even if he had someone to protect him, he would never be able to stand out in the Kongxian sect. He would be spurned by everyone. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. Don't worry. Just let him run in this direction. His four eyes were empty, but his face was calm. Don't tell me it's in that direction. Supreme Universe seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes lit up. That's right. Emojuri is coming from that direction. If he runs in that direction, he'll be walking right into a trap. So, we just have to keep chasing him and let him run forward. Four-Eyed Kongting sneered. That's great. Paragon Universe was overjoyed. Of course, their conversation was transmitted to Lu Ming for fear that he would overhear it. The chase continued for another half an hour. The distance between the two parties had widened. Supreme Universe and the rest could barely see Lu Ming's figure. Not good. Lu Ming, stop. At this time Bone's voice echoed. What's wrong? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he could not help but stop. There's an expert in front of us and he's coming at a high speed. This person's cultivation is extremely strong, and you're definitely not his match. He's so fast he's almost here. Quickly change direction. Bone Demon shouted, somewhat anxious. Could it be Emojuri? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The first person he thought of was Emojuri. Since Simu Kongting and the others had appeared, Emojuri was most likely on this planet as well. Without thinking, Lu Ming immediately changed his direction and dashed to the left. Damn it, why did he change direction? Could he have already discovered Emojuri? Chase! The four-eyed void beast roared in anger and chased after Lu Ming. Boom! 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 Lu Ming had just changed his direction. After running for a short while, he sensed a terrifying aura coming from the direction he came from. The speed of the aura was shocking. When it first appeared it was still very far away, but in a few breaths it was not far away. It's Emojuri indeed. Lu Ming's gaze swept across and he saw Emojuri's figure. A layer of black light appeared around Emojuri's body, making him look like a dark cloud. He chased after Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Its speed was even faster than Lu Ming's. The distance between him and Lu Ming was closing. In the beginning, the two sides were still separated by several thousand li, but soon the distance between the two sides was less than 1,000 li. After running for a while more, the distance between the two sides was reduced to less than 300 miles. If this continued, Lu Ming would be caught up to very soon. Lu Ming, die. Emojuri's cold voice was heard. The black light around his body surged and turned into a pitch-black claw. It crossed a distance of hundreds of miles and grabbed at Lu Ming. Divine Dragon Phenomenon. Lu Ming cast the Divine Dragon Materialization Art and 3 huge 9-clawed Divine Dragons condensed and pounced towards Emojuri's claws. Small tricks break die. Emojuri shouted coldly as his pitch-black claws swiped down. Bang! 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 With 3 loud bangs, the 3 9-clawed Divine Dragons were shattered. They could not stop Lu Ming at all. The black claws continued to claw at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. He turned around and attacked with all his might. Lu Ming cast the second move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, moon cutting. He held the spear with both hands and swung it down with all his might. A crescent-shaped spearlight blasted towards the pitch-black claw. When the crescent-shaped spearlight struck the pitch-black claw, a violent boom was heard. The crescent-shaped spearlight trembled continuously before it exploded. Lu Ming felt an extremely powerful force surging towards him from his spear. His body trembled and his huge body retreated frantically. Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. Furthermore, he felt a jet-black energy covering his body. It had a terrifying corrosive power that was about to corrode his body. What terrifying divine power! Lu Ming's expression was grave. The 6 divine flames in his body circulated at full force. Divine power rushed to the surface of his body continuously to block the divine power. The divine power that Emoji controlled was a divine-grade divine power, and it was shockingly powerful. Let's go! Lu Ming did not stop. He ran forward while resisting the divine power. You have some strength, but it's not enough. Kill! Die! Emoji shouted coldly and attacked again. Lu Ming ran while blocking the attacks. Emoji's strength was truly shocking. Lu Ming could already sense that Emoji's cultivation was at the 6th level celestial deity realm. However, he controlled divine-grade divine energy, and was much stronger than Supreme Universe and Four-Eye Void. Lu Ming was no match for him at all. Even if it was a long-distance attack, the power was still extremely shocking. A planet close to a star. Although Emoji's cultivation base was still at the 6th level Heavenly God realm, which was on par with Supreme Universe and Four-Eye Void Court, his combat strength was far stronger than them. Even after exchanging a few moves across space, Lu Ming felt that he was far from being Emoji's match. After a few moves, Lu Ming's blood was boiling and blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. The distance between Emoji and him was rapidly closing. That brat is dead for sure. Behind him, Universe Master was overjoyed. He sped up and chased after Lu Ming, wanting to attack Lu Ming together with Emoji. We can't continue like this. Lu Ming's mind was racing. If this continued, Emoji would catch up to him in no time. At that time, the Supreme Universe would catch up with him, and Lu Ming would not be able to escape. Only death would await him. Lu Ming, there's only one way out now. Fly toward the star and the planet closest to it. The closer you are to the star, the stronger the gravity will be. The environment there will definitely be more complicated. Only then will you have a chance to escape. Bone's voice was heard. He was very knowledgeable and quickly thought of a countermeasure. All right. Lu Ming did not hesitate at all. He struck out with his spear with all his might. A huge spear light collided with Emoji's attack. The force was activated and Lu Ming's body shook. At the same time, Lu Ming borrowed this force and shot into the sky. The cry of a Kuan Peng was heard. Lu Ming used all his strength to cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique. The strong divine power condensed into a Kuan Peng on the surface of Lu Ming's body. With a flap of its wings, the Kuan Peng soared into the sky and traveled 90,000 miles in an instant, rushing toward the planet closest to the star. You want to leave? Dream on. Emoji came to his senses and rose into the sky, chasing after Lu Ming. Behind him, Supreme Universe, Four-Eye Void Court, and the others also rose into the sky and chased after Lu Ming. After rushing out of the starry sky, Lu Ming used the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique with all his might. His speed became even faster, as if he was a bird flying in the sky. For a moment, Emoji could not catch up with Lu Ming. The two sides, one chasing and one escaping, crossed a long distance and rapidly approached the planet closest to the star. From afar, the planet closest to the star was a sea of fiery red, as if it was enveloped by a layer of fiery red clouds. It was a dazzling sight. Very soon, Lu Ming was not far from this planet. Lu Ming, even if you run to the ends of the earth, you're still going to die. Emoji bellowed and used all his strength to chase after Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not say a word. He was engrossed in his journey. Finally, he arrived in the sky above the planet and rushed into the dazzling clouds. Lu Ming's body trembled violently the moment he charged into the clouds. He almost lost control of his body and fell to the ground. What a terrifying gravitational force! Lu Ming was shocked. The gravity of this planet was beyond his imagination. It was extremely terrifying. Even Lu Ming was almost hit by it. However, before Lu Ming could come to his senses, a strong gust of wind came toward him at an alarming speed. Before he could react, he was swept into the strong wind. It was hot. This was Lu Ming's first impression. This gust of wind was extremely hot. Its temperature was even more terrifying than lava. Lu Ming could feel waves of burning pain on his skin. Lu Ming hurriedly circulated his divine power to resist, and he felt slightly better. However, the power of the gale was too shocking. Even if Lu Ming wanted to burst out with all his strength and rush out, he could not do it. He could only be swept away by the gale and flew to an unknown place. Behind him, Emojui followed closely behind Lu Ming and rushed into the planet. However, he ended up like Lu Ming. The moment he rushed in, he was also swept away by a hot gust of wind. He could not help but be swept in a different direction from Lu Ming. After Emojui, Supreme Universe, Four-Eye Void Court, Sacred Sun of Reflection, and the others all rushed into the planet. However, some of the weaker ones were even worse off. They couldn't control their bodies and were attracted by the terrifying gravity, falling to the ground and suffering heavy injuries. As for those with higher cultivation bases, although they were able to resist the gravitational pull, they were swept away by the scorching wind and flew to who knows where. The group of people had all been scattered. Lu Ming drifted along with the strong wind. He did not know how far he had flown. Slowly, the power of the strong wind weakened. Lu Ming seized the opportunity and rushed out of the strong wind, flying toward the ground. Bang! Lu Ming landed heavily on the ground. The hardness of the ground here was even more shocking. It was several times harder than the ground of the previous planets. The strong gravitational force was constantly acting on Lu Ming's body. He could only circulate his divine power to resist it at all times. Lu Ming was on guard. However, after waiting for a moment, he did not find anything unusual. It seems that this kind of wind only exists in the high altitude of this planet. There are fewer on the ground. As long as I avoid it carefully, I should be fine. Lu Ming pondered for a while and then released his right palm. Ouyang Xiangxiang was sitting cross-legged on his palm. At the moment, Lu Ming had the body of an ancient god. He was a few hundred meters tall and his palm was huge. It was very easy for him to hold Ouyang Qingxiang. Lu Ming, are you all right? Where are Emojui and the rest? Ouyang Qingxiang quickly asked. We've shaken them off, Lu Ming said. As he spoke, Lu Ming's body quickly shrank to the size of an ordinary person. Then he felt a sense of weakness. In the previous battle, Lu Ming had been maintaining his ancient god body, which had consumed a lot of his energy. Following that, the two of them randomly chose a direction and ran. Not long after, they found a hidden place and the two of them took a rest. A few days later, the two of them had recovered to their peak condition. They left the place and continued forward. Soon the two of them had some gains. Lu Ming found a few pieces of strange metal. In the next few days, the two of them continued to gain. There were many precious metals on this planet. Lu Ming was all smiles. This planet was the closest to the star, so it was affected the most by the array. It was indeed extraordinary. Gah! Suddenly, a sharp bird's cry came from the front. Could there be a living being? Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang were both stunned. It sounded like a bird's cry. However, how could any living creature survive on this planet in such a harsh environment? The two of them were very curious and flew in the direction of the sound. Boom! Boom! Not long after, the two of them heard a violent rumble. Someone was fighting. The two of them quickly concealed their auras and flew for a while before they finally saw the situation clearly. 5 young men and women were engaged in an intense battle with 3 giant birds. It's the people of the multi-story building sect. Ouyang Qingxiang recognized the 5 people at a glance. They were the heaven's favorites from one of the top 10 sects, the multi-story house sect. The multi-tower sect was one of the top 10 sections. Of course, it was still slightly inferior to the Kongxian sect. The 5 people in front of him were all very powerful. 3 of them were at the level of saints, and the strongest one was not weaker than Ouyang Qingxiang. Chapter 2897 Star Core Fragment. Fighting against the 5 of them were 3 large snow-white birds. Their wingspans were no less than 50 meters. No, this isn't a real living being. It's made of some kind of energy. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He could tell that the three big birds were not living creatures at all. They were condensed from a kind of energy and did not have any life or at all. Flying snow. The 5 young men and women of the multi-story building sect all used a battle axe with amazing power. When the battle axe chopped down, it completely suppressed the 3 giant birds. In particular, there was a black-robed youth whose strength was not weaker than Ouyang Xiangxiang's. With a swing of his battle axe, he chopped off the wings of a large bird. Kill! The black-robed young man shouted. His battle axe swept across with the might to split open the sky. The axe light swept across, and the big bird's head was chopped off. Its body then collapsed. To Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang's surprise, after the big bird dispersed, it actually turned into a stream of energy and surged into the black-robed young man's body. The black-robed young man's face was full of satisfaction and excitement. Kill! Then, the black-robed young man attacked the other 2 big birds. Not long after, the remaining 2 birds were both killed. Just like the previous one, these 2 birds also collapsed and turned into waves of energy that were absorbed by the 5 young men and women. Awesome, this is so awesome. If this continues, our cultivation will break through very soon. A young woman said with excitement on her face. That's right. I don't know what these giant birds are. After killing them, we can actually absorb their energy. This is truly a great opportunity. Let's go, well, continue moving forward. The black-robed young man said. Then the 5 of them continued to move forward. Not long after, several large birds appeared and pounced at the black-robed young man's group. What a waste! They're simply wasting God's gift by absorbing it like that. I'm so angry. In his sea of consciousness, the quantity formula shouted unhappily. Old Liang, do you know what those big birds are? Lu Ming asked. Nonsense, of course I know. It's formed by the energy overflowing from the star core fragments. The energy from the star core is extremely pure, so the energy overflowing from the star core fragments can be directly absorbed by people. The quantity formula said. A star core fragment. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. No wonder the black-robed young man and his group of 5 were able to absorb the energy of that huge bird after killing it. It's a complete waste for them to absorb it like that. I'm afraid they can't even absorb half of the energy, and the rest will dissipate. If it were me, I would definitely be able to absorb 100%. The quantity formula said. You're saying that there are star core fragments in this area? Lu Ming continued to ask. That's right, kid. If you can get the star core fragment, I'm confident that I can help you break through to the sky celestial realm in a short time. The quantity formula said. I must get the star core fragment. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Just as Lu Ming was about to rush out and chase away the black-robed young man and the others to occupy this place, a few rainbow lights flew over rapidly from the distance. It's him for Eyes Void Court. Lu Ming swept his gaze around and discovered that the newcomer was the peerless genius of the unique demon academy, Four-Eyed Void Court. In addition, there were also a few geniuses from the unique demon academy. The black-robed youth and the others also discovered Four-Eyed Kongting's group, and their faces darkened. Buzz! Buzz! An NBSP whoosh! Simu Kongting and the others stood in the air, looking at the few large birds with greed. It was formed by the overflowing energy of a star core fragment. Ha ha ha, there's actually a star core fragment here. The four-eyed King Kongting roared in his heart, his 4 eyes filled with greed. As a peerless heaven's favorite of the 3 overlord forces, he naturally had a broad vision. With just a glance, he could tell that this giant bird was formed by the energy overflowing from a star core fragment. This was a great opportunity. You guys can get lost. I want this place. Four-eyed Kongting said coldly. Four-eyed Empty Court. We found this place first. It's too domineering of you to chase us away like this. The black-robed young man said with a gloomy expression. Overbearing? You don't have to leave, but you can stay here forever. Four-eyed Kongting sneered. You, the black-robed young man and the other 4 revealed angry expressions. They had finally encountered such an opportunity, so they were somewhat unwilling to leave like this. They quickly retreated and dodged the attacks of a few big birds. They retreated to the side, but they had no intention of leaving. Do you still have any hope of getting lucky? You're really stupid. Then I'll send you on your way. Kill! Simu Kongting shouted coldly. As his 4 eyes opened and closed, Four beams of light shot out towards the black-robed youth and the other four. Flying snow. The black-robed young man bellowed as he continuously struck out with his battle axe, sending out a dozen axe lights towards the light beam that was shot out from the four-eyed void. Bang! Bang! After a few violent rumbles, the black-robed young man's body trembled and he retreated, spitting out a mouthful of blood. He was no match for the four-eyed void court. Just like when Ouyang Qingxiang was up against the Supreme Universe, she could not even block a few moves. For eyes empty court. You're really very impressive. At this moment a cold laugh came from the distance. Then a few sword lights flickered rapidly. The next moment, a few more figures appeared in the area. A few young men were carrying long swords on their backs. The one in the lead had sword-like eyebrows and eagle-like eyes, and he had an extraordinary appearance. Zhuo Bingchen. Four-eyed Kong Ting's gaze turned cold, revealing a trace of solemnness. It's him. He's an extremely powerful prodigy from the indestructible sword sect. He's only second to the deity Wuji swordsman. He's no weaker than universe god. Ouyang Qingxiang's face was solemn as she sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. He could also sense a terrifying sword intent from this person. When the black-robed youth and the other four saw Zhuo Wudi appear, their faces became even uglier. The four-eyed emptiness and Zhuo Buma's appearance meant that the opportunities in this place had nothing to do with them. I'm so lucky. This place actually has a star core fragment. Aha, it's mine. Zhuo Wu Fa laughed out loud, full of confidence and greed. It's yours? Zhuo Bingguo, you're really overconfident. Four-eyed Kong Ting sneered. For eyes in the void, you want to stop me? The outside world has always placed me on the same level as you. Today, I'll see what qualifications you have to be on the same level as me. Zhuo Buju said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying sword essence rose from his body. With a swish, his long sword was drawn and a white sword light shot towards the four-eyed void. Four eyes set the sky. Four eyes shouted loudly. His four eyes were like four suns, giving off a dazzling light. Then, four rays of light burst out and turned into four long spears that shot towards Zhuo Bumu. Buzz! Buzz! An NBSP whoosh. The sword light and the destructive light beam collided continuously, causing terrifying sound waves to erupt. In an instant, the two of them had exchanged dozens of moves. After dozens of moves, the two of them retreated at the same time. They were evenly matched. Chapter 2898 Scruples. Four-Eye Kong Ting and Zhuo Wu Fa looked at each other from a distance, their expressions somewhat grave. For a moment, neither of them made a move. They knew that if the two of them were to fight, it would not be decided in a short time. Moreover, if both of them were injured, the black-robed youth and the others would take advantage of it. Gaga. At this moment, a few large birds were chirping as they pounced towards Four-Eye Void Court and Zhuo Buju. Buzz! Whoosh! Four Eyes Void Court and Zhuo Wu Fa attacked at the same time. In an instant, a few large birds were killed by the two of them. They then turned into rolling energy that surged into their bodies and were absorbed. Cool, this is too cool. Four-eyed Kong Ting's face was filled with an intoxicated expression. Zhuo Buju was almost the same. If they absorbed the giant bird, their cultivation would improve rapidly. Absorbing one giant bird would be equivalent to 1,000 years of their bitter cultivation. What could be more satisfying than that? For eyes, let's compete fairly for the star core fragment. Whoever gets it will get it. How about it? Zhuo Wu Fa stared at the four-eyed empty court. Alright, let's do that. But before that, we still need to get rid of some miscellaneous people. After saying that, Four-Eyed Void Court swept his cold gaze toward the black-robed youth and the others. That's right, get lost or else die. Zhuo Wu Fa said even more coldly. The black-robed youth's group of 5 had extremely unsightly expressions, but they didn't dare to refute. In this world, strength was the most important. If one talked too much without strength, only death would await them. Let's go. The black-robed youth shouted angrily and turned to leave. Although the other 4 Heaven's favorites from the multi-story sect were unwilling, they had no choice but to follow the black-robed youth and leave. There are still 2 ants. Aren't you going to get lost? After the black-robed young man and his group of 5 left, he looked in the direction of Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang with his cold eyes and said coldly, It seems that we've been discovered. Lu Ming smiled faintly and walked out with Ouyang Xiangxiang. Lu Ming, it's you guys. When he saw that it was Lu Ming and Ouyang Xiangxiang, Four-Eyed Void Court bellowed in anger. His 4 eyes flickered with cold killing intent. Lu Ming, it's you. Ha ha. Good, very good. You killed a holy son of my indestructible sword sect in the world of ancient gods. Now leave your life behind. A terrifying sword intent rushed out of Zhuo Wudi's body. As soon as he finished speaking, a snow-white sword light flew towards Lu Ming with terrifying power. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He immediately used the ancient god tactic and turned into a green-armored ancient god. He thrust his spear and broke Zhuobuzu's sword radiance. Kill! Lu Ming shouted, his fighting spirit soaring. With his combat power being quadrupled, Lu Ming's body was filled with energy. He held the spear and charged towards Zhuobuzu. Zhuobuzu's pupils contracted. It was obvious that Lu Ming's abilities had far exceeded his expectations. Undying Sword Principle! Zhuo Wudi shouted and used a terrifying divine skill to attack Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! In an instant, the two of them exchanged more than a dozen moves. The others could only see the sky full of spear and sword rays. In the beginning, the spear and sword rays clashed with each other, and it was difficult to tell who was stronger. However, after a few breaths, the spear radiance began to suppress the sword radiance. The sword radiance trembled non-stop and finally exploded with a loud boom. A figure was seen retreating continuously. The one who retreated was naturally Zhuo Wudi. How is that possible? Zhuo Wu's eyes were filled with disbelief. He had never expected Lu Ming to be so powerful that he could not even defeat him. Four-Eyed Void had exchanged blows with Lu Ming before, and was not too surprised. Zhuobuzu, this Lu Ming is really abnormal. I'm afraid you can't take him down by yourself. How about we join forces and kill him together? Four-Eyed Kongting said to Zhuobiyu Dong. All right. Zhuo Wudi directly nodded his head and released a terrifying sword essence. For Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuzu formed a horn and charged towards Lu Ming. You two want to join forces to kill me? Good, very good. However, do you think you can kill me so easily? If I go all out, I can take one of you down with me. Even if I can't kill you, I can at least heavily injure you. If one of you is seriously injured, would the other let him go? Lu Ming sneered. The moment he said this, For Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuzu's figures stopped. They looked at each other and saw the wariness in each other's eyes. Lu Ming was right. Even if the two of them joined forces to deal with Lu Ming, given Lu Ming's abilities, it was not impossible for him to take one of them down with him if he retaliated before he died. Even if he couldn't kill them, he would definitely be able to severely injure them. If one of them was seriously injured, would the other let the other go? It was impossible. Who wouldn't want to keep the star core fragment for themselves? For a moment, neither of them made a move. Lu Ming, don't you dare try to sow discord. Four-Eyed Kongting said in a deep voice. He trying to sow discord? I'm just telling the truth. If you want to fight, it'll keep you company. Lu Ming sneered. For Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuzu still didn't attack. They naturally knew that Lu Ming was telling the truth. For a time the three sides were in a stalemate. The star core fragment will belong to anyone who sees it. Let's have a fair competition. Whoever can get it will get it. By the time the others arrive, we won't have a share, especially your divine sons. Lu Ming smiled faintly. For I Kongting and Zhuo Wu's eyes flashed. They were clearly moved. In the unique Demon Academy or the Immortal Sword Sect, the Divine Sons and Holy Sons were also competitors, just like the Kong Xian sect. For Eyes Void, he had always been suppressed by Emojui. It would be a lie to say that he did not want to replace Emojui and defeat him. If Emojui found this place, the star core fragment would definitely belong to Emojui. Compared to killing Lu Ming, it was more important for him to obtain the opportunity. Alright, let's have a fair competition. Whoever has the strength and the opportunity will get the star core fragment. The four-eyed empty court finally gave in. After saying those words, it turned around and rushed forward with the people from the unique Demon Academy. Let's go. How could Zhuobuzu fall behind? He also led the few geniuses of the indestructible sword sect and charged forward. Let's go too. Lu Ming nodded at Ouyang Qingxiang. In a flash, the two of them also moved forward. They didn't walk far in this direction before large birds pounced out to kill them. Kill! Lu Ming waved his long spear and pressed down. A big bird was killed by him. At once, the huge bird dispersed and turned into rolling energy that rushed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming, let me do it first. I'll transfer it to you after I devour it. He said the measure word art. Then, a powerful suction force erupted and devoured all the energy that the big bird had transformed into. The next moment, an extremely pure energy surged out from the measure word art and gushed into Lu Ming's limbs and bones. Lu Ming circulated the universe Thousand Tao mantra to absorb this energy and convert it into divine power. Lu Ming is the only one who can enter in just a few breaths. Lu Ming had completely absorbed and refined this energy. Lu Ming could feel that his divine energy had become much purer. Of course, there was still a long way to go before he could reach the celestial deity realm. What a rich and powerful energy, Lu Ming sighed. Of course, after I absorb it, I can use it 100%. Others can only absorb half of it at most. The quantity word formula said proudly. Lu Ming smiled. Without further ado, he waved his long spear and killed another large bird. He then continued to absorb energy. At this moment, Ouyang Qingxiang had also killed a big bird and absorbed its energy. The divine power in her body had also become stronger. Killing these birds to cultivate would be many times faster than cultivating normally. On the other side, for Ai's Void Court, Zhuo Wu Fa and the others were also increasing their speed, killing the giant bird and absorbing its energy. After they finished absorbing the energy, they continued to move forward. After Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang finished off a few big birds, they also went forward. As they went deeper, the number of giant birds that appeared increased. They knew that the star core fragment must be right in front of them. Although the giant bird was quite powerful, it was still being hunted down by experts like Lu Ming, for Ai's Void Court and Zhuo Buzhu. The giant birds were killed one after another as Lu Ming continued to venture deeper. Ga ga ga. Suddenly, a series of ear-piercing sounds came from the front. Lu Ming and the rest were shocked as they looked ahead in a daze. There was a huge canyon ahead, but at the mouth of the canyon and above the canyon, there were countless large birds flying. At a glance, there were no less than 1,000 of them, covering the sky and blocking out the light in this area. So many, someone said in a hoarse voice. Experts like Lu Ming, Four-Eyed Void Court, and Zhuo Buzhu naturally did not care about such a huge bird alone. However, if so many of them attacked together, even they would find it difficult to deal with. The star core fragment must be in this canyon. Greed appeared in the four-eyed King Kong's eyes. What should we do? There are so many big birds. How can we enter? Zhuo Buzhu muttered, his mind constantly turning, trying to think of a way to get rid of the others and also to take the star core fragment for himself. Lu Ming, I have a way to help you get in. At this moment, the quantity formula spoke again. You have a way? What is it? Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he conversed with the quantity formula secretly. These big birds are formed from the energy leaking out of the star core fragments. They don't seem to have any intelligence and only have a kind of instinct. As for me, I'm the ancient word quantity. It's the origin of all energy and can devour all energy. As long as you release your aura, those birds made of energy won't dare to approach you. The quantity formula said. It's that simple? Lu Ming was stunned. It's that simple. The quantity formula said as if it could cut through gold and iron. All right. Lu Ming nodded secretly. He already had an idea. 4 eyes in the empty courtyard. It seems like we can only charge in if we work together. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke to Four-Eye Void Court and Zhuo Budong. Join hands. Four-Eyed Kongting and Motionless Desk's eyes flashed. That's right. Let's work together. After we get in, we'll each use our own abilities to get the star core fragment. Lu Ming said. All right, I agree. I also agree. For Ai's Void Court and Zhuo Wu Fa both nodded. After making up their minds, they prepared to attack. Qingxiang, wait a moment. You have to follow me closely. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Ouyang Qingxiang. Ouyang Qingxiang nodded silently and followed closely behind Lu Ming. Kill! Suddenly, Lu Ming shouted and dashed toward the flock of birds at the entrance of the canyon. At the same time, Zhuo Bumu also led his people towards the canyon. Ga ga ga. As soon as they moved, The giant birds noticed them and moved as well. They let out sharp cries and pounced on Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming shouted and waved his long spear, killing the big birds. For Eyes Void Court, Zhuobuju and the others also attacked with all their might, killing those giant birds. However, there were too many giant birds, and it was easier said than done to charge in. However, because of this, Zhuobumu and Four Eye Kongting also attracted a large number of giant birds. Old Liang now. Lu Ming sent a message to the quantity formula. Watch this old lady. The voice of the measure formula was heard. At the same time, the entire body of the measure formula glowed. A mysterious aura was emitted and enveloped Lu Ming. At first, a few large birds were pouncing on Lu Ming. However, they suddenly sensed the aura of the measure formula. Their eyes were filled with fear and they immediately flew away from Lu Ming. It's really effective. Qingxiang, follow me. Lu Ming pulled Ouyang Qingxiang's hand. The aura of the measure formula followed her hand and covered her entire body. The surrounding big birds also directly bypassed Ouyang Qingxiang and did not pounce on her. When Lu Ming held her hand, Ouyang Qingxiang's delicate body began to tremble and her face turned red. However, the next moment, her beautiful eyes revealed a look of surprise, because she realized that those big birds actually didn't pounce towards her. They directly bypassed her and pounced towards Four Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuju. Ouyang Qingxiang was extremely shocked. She knew that all of this was because of Lu Ming. Her curiosity about him grew. Let's go. Lu Ming held Ouyang Qingxiang's hand and rushed into the canyon. Not a single big bird stopped him. Damn it! How is that possible? For Eyes Void Court, Zhuobuju and the rest also discovered Lu Ming's strange behavior. It was simply unbelievable and they roared in anger. Lu Ming, stop right there. You dare to trick me. For Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuba roared. Their killing intent as cold as a knife. You guys have fun. I'm not going to keep you company. Lu Ming smiled indifferently and continued to rush forward with Ouyang Qingxiang. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from the sight of Four Eye Void Courtyard and the others. For Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuba roared in anger. Their killing intent was as cold as a blade, but they were helpless. Let's not fight with these giant birds and conserve our strength. Well, surround the area and wait for Lu Ming to come out. It'll be his time of death. Four-eyed Kongting said coldly. That's right. That brat dared to trick me. He's simply courting death. Zhuowudi's voice was also extremely cold. Immediately, they stopped fighting with the giant birds and retreated. After they had retreated a certain distance, the giant birds stopped chasing them and flew back to the canyon. For Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuju led people to guard not far away. They were waiting for Lu Ming to come out and then kill him. After Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang barged into the flock of big birds, their field of vision suddenly widened. There was no big bird in the canyon. Those big birds were just circling the mouth of the canyon and above it. The moment Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang entered, their gazes were deeply attracted. There was a ball of light floating in the air above the valley, emitting a dazzling light. Chapter 2900 Crisis. A ball of light was floating in the valley, emitting a dazzling light. In addition, there was an extremely pure energy constantly spreading out. A star core fragment. Lu Ming's and Ouyang Qingxiang's eyes were burning with desire. This was definitely a star core fragment. They had come to the right place. The two of them couldn't help but get closer to the star core fragment, and finally saw the full appearance of the fragment. It was a crystal the size of a fingernail. Although it was small, the energy it contained was extremely terrifying. It's so small, Lu Ming muttered. Kid, what do you know? A star core is the core of a star. It contains an enormous amount of energy, but it's also extremely pure. It's very easy to absorb and is a peerless treasure. Moreover, the star core here was formed by a man using a large formation. The energy contained in a star core is even more terrifying. Don't underestimate this small piece. It's enough for you to break through to the heavenly god realm. The disdainful voice of the Liang character formula sounded. Then let's start. Lu Ming said. He could not wait any longer. Immediately, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang walked toward the star core fragment. When they arrived at the fragment, the two of them sat cross-legged and began to cultivate by absorbing the energy from the star core. Lu Ming, I'll help you absorb it. It'll help you break through to the celestial god level faster. He recited the measure formula. Then, a powerful suction force erupted. The energy in the star core surged towards Lu Ming continuously and was absorbed by the measure formula. It was transformed into purer energy and surged into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming circulated the universe Thousand Tao mantra at full force to absorb and refine this energy. The energy of the star core was extremely pure. Even without the measure formula, it could be refined quickly. With the help of the measure formula, the refining speed was naturally faster. A steady stream of energy was transformed into divine power. Lu Ming's divine power was increasing rapidly. In his dantian, 6 divine flames were burning fiercely, and the flames were getting more and more vigorous. Lu Ming was breaking through to the celestial god level at an alarming speed. On the other side, Ouyang Qingxiang was also circulating her cultivation technique to absorb the energy of the star core fragment. However, her absorption speed was far from comparable to Lu Ming's. Just like that, they cultivated for 7 days. In 7 days, the fingernail-sized fragment had almost been completely absorbed by the two of them, leaving only the size of a speck of dust. Boom! At that moment, a powerful aura erupted from Ouyang Xiangxiang's body. She had broken through and reached the 6th-level celestial deity realm. Ouyang Xiangxiang had only broken through to the 5th-level heavenly god realm not long ago, but she had already reached the 6th-level heavenly god realm. This was all thanks to the star core fragment. However, the energy that Ouyang Qingxiang absorbed was far less than Lu Ming's. At this moment, Lu Ming's aura had also increased to its peak. 6 types of divine power surged and shone with a dazzling light, circulating continuously on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body was like a volcano that was about to erupt at any moment. Boom! Finally, Lu Ming exploded. A shocking aura erupted from his body, and a powerful pressure filled the air. This was the pressure of a heavenly god. The divine energy that Lu Ming controlled was divine-grade divine energy. He also had 5 other types of divine energy. The energy required for a breakthrough was much more than Ouyang Qingxiang's. At this moment, after absorbing the energy of the star core fragment, Lu Ming finally broke through the bottleneck in one fell swoop and charged into the celestial god realm. As soon as he entered the celestial god realm, Lu Ming's body exuded a powerful suction force. The energy between heaven and earth rushed towards Lu Ming in an even more violent manner. The last star core fragment let out a soft sound and completely shattered. It turned into energy and surged into Lu Ming's body. The moment the star core fragment shattered, the huge birds around the canyon screeched and dispersed. They turned into energy and surged into Lu Ming's body. With 4 empty eyes, Zhuobumu and the others had been waiting outside the canyon, waiting for Lu Ming to come out and kill him. At this moment, they suddenly saw the giant birds scattering one by one, and they were all shocked. What's going on? That's Lu Ming. He's cultivating. Damn it, it must be the star core fragment. Lu Ming absorbed the star core fragment, which caused all those big birds to disperse. Kill him. When Four-Eyed Void Court and the rest saw Lu Ming and Ouyang Xiangxiang, they could easily guess what had happened. They immediately roared angrily, their eyes red with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Kill! Zhuobuhua was the most direct. With a cold shout, a terrifying sword intent burst out. He became one with the sword, turning into a brilliant sword light and slashing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming had actually absorbed the star core fragment. He wanted to crush Lu Ming's bones and scatter his ashes. The sword light was extremely fast and it was approaching Lu Ming in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming was at the critical moment of his breakthrough and he could not resist at all. In actual fact, the current situation was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. He did not expect that after he absorbed the star core fragment, the huge birds would disperse. Green Lotus Sword Domain Die! Ouyang Qingxiang shouted. Her delicate body emitted a dazzling green sword radiance. Green lotus flowers appeared in front of Lu Ming. Thousands of sword chi slashed at Zhuobuju. Buzz! 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 The sword chi clashed. In an instant, the sword chi from both sides had clashed hundreds of times. After a few hundred hits, the green lotus flower crumbled, and Zhuobuzu's figure was also blocked and stopped. You've made a breakthrough in your cultivation. Zhuobingchen's expression was unsightly as he stared at Ouyang Qingxiang. It must be a star core fragment. She has also absorbed the energy of a star core fragment. Damn it, damn it. The four-eyed King Kong charged over, his mouth constantly roaring in anger. He was so jealous that he was about to go crazy. In his opinion, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang's absorption of the star core fragment was simply a waste of a heavenly treasure. How great would it be if he could absorb the star core fragment? He would definitely be able to break through to the 7th level or even the 8th level of the heavenly deity realm. In that case, he would not have to fear Emojui. He could even suppress Emojui and become the #1 expert among the younger generation of the unique Demon Academy. However, this hope had been shattered by Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. So what if I've broken through? Kill! Zhuo Wudi shouted, and the sword light became even brighter as it charged toward Ouyang Qingxiang. Let's attack together and get rid of this B*TSH. Then we'll kill Lu Ming. The four-eye void court roared and attacked as well. Terrifying beams of light shot out from its 4 eyes and shot toward Ouyang Qingxiang. Green Lotus Sword Domain. Green Lotus Sword Domain. Ouyang Qingxiang shouted again. The divine power in her body was about to burn. She burst out with all her power and set up the Green Lotus Sword Domain around Lu Ming and her. The boundless sword chi gathered into a few huge green lotus flowers, which enveloped the two of them and blocked the attacks from all directions. However, Ouyang Xiangxiang's cultivation had only just broken through to the 6th level heavenly deity realm. She wouldn't even be a match for Four Eyes Void Court or Zhuo Bufu alone, let alone the two of them working together. The moment the two attacks collided, the green lotus trembled violently. Ouyang Qingxiang groaned and her body trembled. She spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Breaking through to the heavenly god level, Ouyang Qingxiang was sent flying and fell to the ground with a pale face. Lu Ming, Ouyang Xiangxiang gasped with deep worry. You're overestimating yourself. Lu Ming, go to hell. He looked at Lu Ming coldly. 4 beams of destructive light shot out toward Lu Ming. If he was hit, Lu Ming would die without a doubt. At this moment, Lu Ming's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. A cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 spear lights burst out from Lu Ming's hands. They were more dazzling than meteors. The spear light shook and the 4 destructive lights in the 4 eyes were scattered. Ah! A shrill scream reverberated through the entire area. Then a bloody light burst out, and a figure quickly retreated. This figure was Four-Eyed Kongting. At this moment, Four-Eyed Kongting was roaring madly. His 2 eyes had disappeared and were replaced by 2 bloody holes. 2 of the Four-Eyed Void's eyes were blinded by Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you're looking for death, you're looking for death. I'm going to tear you into pieces. Kongting's body began swelling up, and he actually turned into a giant worm. This giant worm was more than 100 meters long, and was covered in disgusting tentacles. This was the true form of the Four-Eyed Void Court. In fact, many of the Polyeyes true forms were not from the same race, but a variety of different races. The Four-Eyed Void turned back into its original form and pounced at Lu Ming, unleashing its full strength. Kill! An NBS Padai. Lu Ming said coldly, his body rapidly growing in size as he transformed into a green-armored ancient god. He swept his spear forward, his divine power overwhelming the Four-Eye Void. Boom! Lu Ming had now broken through to the 1st-tier celestial god, and he was even at the peak of the 1st-tier celestial god realm. His divine power was much more robust than before. The long spear pressed down, breaking through the Four-Eye Void's attack and defense like a piece of rotten wood, and bombarded his body. The Four-Eyed Void King's huge body was sent flying. A section of his body exploded, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. You're the one who's going to die. Lu Ming's cold voice was heard. He took a step forward and covered 100 miles. His long spear was like a shooting star, piercing towards the Four-Eyed Void. Ah, Zhuobuju, quickly come and help me. The Four-Eyed Void beast screamed in horror. At the same time, it unleashed its full strength to resist Lu Ming. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out. Zhuobuju made his move. The sword radiance was like a flying celestial light, cutting through the void and slashing towards Lu Ming's head. Zhuobumu was not the only one. The other paragons of the unique Devil Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect also made their moves at the same time, and launched terrifying killing moves at Lu Ming. Humph! Humph! Lu Ming snorted coldly. His eyes were icy cold and his left hand emitted a dazzling radiance. He threw a punch at Zhuo Buzhu. The moment he threw the punch, 3 nine-clawed divine dragons flew out from Lu Ming's left fist. This was the divine dragon phenomenon. As Lu Ming continued to comprehend the divine dragon materialization art, his understanding became deeper and deeper. When he used it, he was more adept at it. He could condense 3 divine dragon phenomenon with one punch. The 3 divine dragon materialization arts pounced towards Zhuo Buhua. Lu Ming ignored the attacks of the other prodigies and allowed them to attack him. Lu Ming's long spear did not stop and continued to stab at the four-eyed void. The four-eyed void beast was shocked and furious. It unleashed its full power and set up layers of defenses in front of it. However, when the long spear stabbed down, these defenses shattered continuously. Then Lu Ming's long spear pierced through the four-eyed void beast's head and nailed it to the ground. Four-eyed Kong Ting was still alive and was still struggling madly. On the other side, the 3 divine dragons blocked Zhuo Buhua's attack while the attacks of the other prodigies landed on Lu Ming. However, they could only barely break through Lu Ming's defense and leave shallow wounds on his body. To Lu Ming, they were no different from tickles. "Ah, Lu Ming, don't kill me, don't kill me." Four Eyes screamed in fear and began to beg for mercy. In actual fact, he was not that weak. If he had fought Lu Ming with all his might, he would not have been crushed so easily. The main reason was that he was caught off guard and Lu Ming had blinded him in both eyes. The eyes of the multi-eyed race were their vital points. Once they were blinded, their strength would be greatly affected. That was why he was easily crushed by Lu Ming. "Die!" Lu Ming said coldly. Four-Eye Void Court wanted to kill him at every turn. How could he let Four-Eye Void Court off? Lu Ming shook his spear and a terrifying power burst forth, exploding from Four-Eye Void Court's body. Four-Eye Void Court's body was torn into pieces. Zhuo Wu's pupils rapidly contracted as his figure retreated. "All of you stay," Lu Ming shouted coldly. The long spear swept out with the momentum of sweeping away thousands of troops. A spear light as long as a mountain range swept toward the geniuses of the unique Devil Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect. At the same time, a crescent-shaped spear light burst forth. "Not good. Quickly retreat." The expressions of the geniuses from the unique Devil Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect changed drastically, and they all retreated frantically. However, they were still a step too late. As the spear pressed down, the bodies of a few weaker cultivators exploded. A few of the stronger ones were also sent flying like cannonballs. They crashed into a few mountain peaks and shattered them. They were all seriously injured. Among the crowd, Zhuo Buzhu was in a better position. He continuously struck out with his sword, and the sword light slashed on the crescent-shaped spear light, making a violent roar. Although his sword light also shattered, he used this force to float back 1,000 miles. Only a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. "This person is too terrifying. Let's retreat first." Zhuo Wufa did not hesitate at all, turning into a sword light and flying into the distance. "Stay here," Lu Ming shouted and threw the long spear in his hand. The long spear shot out like lightning and shot towards Zhuo Buzhu. Zhuo Wufa's expression changed, and thousands of sword lights shot out from his hands, slashing at the spear. Bang bang bang. The spear and the sword light emitted a series of explosions. In the end, all the sword light shattered. The spear light flashed and Zhuo Buzhu let out a blood-curdling scream. His abdomen had been pierced by the spear and blood was flowing out. He didn't dare to stop. Even with his injuries, he used all his strength to run. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. It's a pity Lu Ming did not pursue him. Zhuo Buzhu cultivated the sword. Not only was his attack powerful, but his speed was also extremely shocking. Even if Lu Ming wanted to catch up, he might not be able to. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the severely injured geniuses from the unique Devil Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect. The Heaven's favorites' faces turned pale. They were all terrified. "Lu Ming, don't kill us," he shouted. "My senior brother Desk has already escaped. If you kill us, the indestructible Sword Sect will not let you off." The geniuses of the Yimo Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect shouted one after another. They were all saint children, and they did not want to die here. "I can spare your lives if you swear on your life essence that you will pledge your loyalty to me in the future." Lu Ming said coldly. Chapter 2903 Battle Between Divine Sons. Swear loyalty to you with the source of life? Don't even think about it. A genius from the unique Demon Academy roared angrily. With a flash of the spear, the Heaven's favorite's forehead was pierced and he died on the spot. The other paragons immediately fell silent. If you don't want to, I'll send you on your way immediately. Who else? Lu Ming scanned his surroundings. No one said a word. Lu Ming was too ruthless. He had no scruples at all. They had no doubt that if they rejected Lu Ming, they would be killed by him immediately. I'll give you the time of 10 breaths. If you still don't agree after 10 breaths, I can only send you on your way. 10. And Lu Ming started to count down. I agree. I also agree. In the end, the paragons of the unique Demon Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect all agreed. They then swore on their life source that they would be loyal to Lu Ming in the future. Lu Ming revealed a smile. There were a total of 6 people from the Yimo Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect. They were all saints. One should know that there were only 7 saints in the Kongxian sect. Lu Ming had gained the loyalty of 6 saints at once. Such people would definitely be useful in the future. Alright, don't announce our relationship to the public. You are still the holy sons and holy virgins of the unique Devil Academy and the Immortal Sword Sect. If I need you in the future, I will naturally contact you. Now go. After Lu Ming finished speaking, he waved his hand and let everyone leave. Yes. The 6 saint-level Heaven's favorites bowed and nodded. Then in a flash they left the place. Lu Ming, you're getting more and more powerful. With your current combat strength, I'm afraid you can fight against the Divine Sun-level geniuses of the 3 Overlord forces. Ouyang Qingxiang walked over with an envious expression. I'm sorry I absorbed so much energy from the Star Core fragment. Lu Ming smiled awkwardly. Lu Ming had absorbed 90% of the energy from the Star Core fragment. The Star Core fragment was obtained by you. I'm the one who's sorry. I'm already very lucky to have absorbed so much energy and broken through 1 level. Ouyang Xiangxiang smiled. This planet is the closest to the star. There might be other Star Core fragments. Let's go and look again. Lu Ming said. After coming to an agreement, Lu Ming put away the storage rings of 4 Eyes Void Court and the others, then left the place with Ouyang Qingxiang. However, their luck seemed to have run out, or perhaps there was only 1 Star Core fragment on this planet. In the next 5 or 6 days they didn't find a second Star Core fragment, nor did they find any array plates. However, they had obtained quite a lot of precious metals. Lu Ming kept them without any hesitation. Boom! 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 Suddenly, a violent explosion came from one direction, and at the same time, a terrifying force spread in this direction. This is the fluctuation of divine power. There's a battle in that direction, Ouyang Qingxiang said. With such shocking fluctuations, the person fighting must be very strong. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. The 2 of them concealed their auras and headed in that direction. They had advanced for at least 10,000 miles, and the fluctuations in front of them were getting more and more intense. Looking ahead, he saw 3 figures entangled together, attacking and fighting each other. The fact that the shockwaves from the 3's fight could travel so far showed how powerful they were. Divine grade divine power. It's them. Emojui. Boundless Sword Dao. Ashen Flame's Army Destroyer. Ouyang Xiangxiang's eyes widened in shock. Lu Ming's gaze also froze. The 3 people fighting at the front were Emojui, Sword Dao Wuji and Serpentine Army Breaker, the 3 deity-level characters. However, the 3 of them clearly did not use their full strength. They should have held back, so the battle was difficult to determine. Below the 3 of them were other Heaven's favorites from the 3 Overlord forces. In front of these people there was a stone tower with 9 floors and a closed door. Emojui, Sword Dao Wuji, and Songyan Pajun must have fought because of this stone pagoda. The 3 of them exchanged dozens of moves in a row, then retreated and confronted each other from a distance. You 2, anyone who sees it will have a share. How about the 3 of us enter this stone tower together? Sword Dao Wuji's long hair fluttered in the wind, and his sword chi soared into the sky like a sharp divine sword. Humph, you sure know how to take advantage of the situation. I was the one who found this stone pagoda first, die. Emojui shouted coldly. His entire body was shrouded in black light, as if he was in the dark of night. So what if you discovered it first? You can't even break through the stone pagoda's door by yourself. What's the use? In my opinion, we should attack together and break through the stone pagoda's door. We can enter together and fight for the treasures inside with our own abilities. This is the fairest way. Songyin Pajuan shouted. His entire body was covered in red armor, and his body was covered in flames. The terrifying heat even distorted the space. It was rumored that Songyin Pajuan had the blood of the Scarlet Flame tribe. But no one knew if it was true. I agree with Brother Songyan's suggestion. The sword Dao Wuji Dao. Emojui's expression was ugly, but he was helpless against sword Dao Infinitum, and Azure Flame breaks the ranks. Neither sword Dao Limitless nor Blue Flame Breaking Army was any weaker than him. Well, it's decided then. But before that, it seems that two uninvited guests have arrived. When Songyin Pajuan finished speaking, he looked in the direction of Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. At the same time, Emojuri and sword Dao Wuji also looked over with cold eyes. Lu Ming smiled faintly. The divine sons had unfathomable means. It was normal for them to notice them. Let's go out and meet the divine child-level people. Lu Ming smiled. Since he had been discovered, there was no need to hide. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang walked out side by side. Brat, it's you. The moment he saw Lu Ming, Emojui's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. An icy aura enveloped Lu Ming. He had come to this planet because he was chasing after Lu Ming. He did not expect Lu Ming to escape. Now that he saw Lu Ming, his killing intent was extremely strong. Lu Ming swept his gaze around but did not see Zhuobuju. It seemed that Zhuobuju had not met with sword Dao Wuji and the others. Naturally, Emojui did not know that Lu Ming had killed Four Eyes Void Court. Lu Ming of the Kongxian sect. Sword Dao Wuji also sneered, and the sword intent on his body became extremely cold. In the world of ancient gods, Lu Ming had killed a holy son of the inextinguishable sword sect. Therefore, Lu Ming was also on his must-kill list. So what if it's me? Lu Ming smiled and strode forward. He looked calm and fearless. Very good, you still dare to come out. You're seeking death. I'll send you on your way now. Emojui's expression was ferocious as he stepped forward. The black light all over his body condensed into a huge pitch-black hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. Chapter 2904 Great Battle against Emojui Thumph. Lu Ming snorted coldly. He did not retreat at all. He instantly activated the fourfold combat power of the battle character formula and executed the second move of the three apocalyptic strikes. He struck down with his spear. Boom! The crescent-shaped spearlight struck Emojui's huge black hand. A terrifying collision occurred between the two and the force spread in all directions. Boom! 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 The crescent-shaped spear radiance shook continuously and finally exploded. Lu Ming's body swayed and he retreated 6 to 7 steps. However, Emojui's condensed claw was also split in half. What? Emojui's eyes narrowed in surprise. He did not expect Lu Ming to be able to block his move. Even though he had just casually used that move, its power was still shocking. Lu Ming had not even used his ancient god body, and he had managed to block the move. This made him look serious. On the side, sword Dao Wuji and Songyin Pajuan's expressions also changed. Clearly, Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded their expectations. So you've already broken through to the heavenly god realm. But do you think that you can fight me just because you've broken through? I'll let you know the difference between us. Emojui's eyes were cold as more black light emanated from his body, turning the area within 10,000 meters of him into night. It was pure night, a night without any light. Kill, die. Emojui shouted coldly. In a flash, he charged towards Lu Ming like a ghost. The darkness around him spread rapidly and enveloped Lu Ming. Once Lu Ming was enveloped, he felt as if he had entered a bottomless abyss. His surroundings were silent. There was no sound or light. Whoosh! Whoosh! All of a sudden, there was a violent tearing sound in the air from all directions. Pairs of pitch-black sharp claws suddenly appeared and clawed at Lu Ming. These sharp claws were like pairs of ghost claws, emitting a disgusting smell. Break the air. Lu Ming's divine power surged and he used the sky-piercing move. The spear's gleam was like a meteor, piercing towards the sharp claws and crushing them. However, as soon as the sharp claws were destroyed, they would immediately condense again and grab Lu Ming. Ice chains. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. 9 ice chains flew out of his body. Each of them was tens of thousands of meters long. They wrapped around the claws and bound them. The power of the ice shackles had increased with Lu Ming's breakthrough to the celestial god realm. It had become extremely shocking. The terrifying chill sealed all the ghost claws in ice before they exploded. Lu Ming, you're quite capable. However, let's see how long you can last in my eternal night cage. 9-armed demon king, come out. Emojui's voice rang out in the dark night. Following that, a series of roars were heard. Then 3 huge creatures appeared in the dark night. The 3 huge creatures were covered in scales. They had wide mouths and fangs, and they actually had 9 arms. They looked like demons that had walked out of the abyss. This was the 9-armed demon king that Emojui had mentioned. Each of the 9-armed demon king's arms held a weapon. It roared and charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming cast the divine dragon materialization art. 3 9-clawed divine dragons pounced out. At the same time, he brandished his spear and charged forward. Buzz! An NBSP whoosh. The 3-headed 9-armed demon king brandished its 9 weapons and slashed continuously. The 3 9-clawed divine dragons were the first to bear the brunt of the attack, and they were forced to retreat continuously, with holes appearing on their bodies. At this moment, Lu Ming's attack had arrived. The long spear and 9-armed demon king's weapon collided. Clang! Clang! There was a terrifying explosion, but Lu Ming's expression changed. He could feel that the 9-armed demon king's power was shockingly strong. He could not withstand it at all. His body shook violently and he retreated continuously, almost spurting out a mouthful of blood. The 3 9-armed demon kings charged at Lu Ming from 3 different directions. Lu Ming, show me your ancient god body. Let me see how strong you are. Emojui's voice sounded again. Since you want to see it, I'll grant your wish. Let's go, Lu Ming said. He used the ancient god tactic. His body collided with the green-armored ancient god, and he became a green-armored ancient god hundreds of meters tall. Once he turned into a green-armored ancient god, Lu Ming's strength skyrocketed. He brandished his spear, shooting out rays of spear light at the 3-headed 9-armed demon king. The 9-armed demon king also brandished his weapon and attacked. However, in this collision, the 9-armed demon king was completely outmatched and was forced to retreat by Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming stared at one of the 9-armed demon kings and charged at it. His attacks were like a storm, attacking the 9-armed demon king. Bang! The 9-armed demon king barely managed to block a few moves before Lu Ming's long spear struck its head. The 9-armed demon king's head exploded, followed by its entire body. After defeating one of the 9-armed demon kings, Lu Ming went after the other 2. Not long after, the remaining 2 9-armed demon kings were defeated. You have some strength. Also, in my eternal night cage, I am the master. Haha. Emojui laughed out loud. The dark night rolled and another 9-armed demon king walked out. This time there were 9 9-armed demon kings, roaring and charging at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming, who had transformed into a green-armored ancient god, was extremely powerful. After fighting with the 9-headed and 9-armed demon king, he defeated it. I'll break your eternal night cage. Lu Ming shouted, and the long spear in his hand enlarged rapidly. A shocking spear radiance soared into the sky as if it could pierce through the sky. Boom! The area that Emojui's eternal night cage could cover was limited. The spear radiance pierced through the air and created a hole in the dark night, allowing the light from the outside to enter. Under the light, Emojui's eternal night cage was like ice and snow meeting fire. It melted and disappeared. As the night disappeared, Lu Ming and Emojui's figures were revealed. This is the green-armored ancient god body. Lu Ming has actually cultivated the green-armored ancient god body. Seeing Lu Ming's current state, Sword Dao Limitless and Grey Flame Army Breaker were shocked. He even managed to break Emojui's eternal night cage. His strength is truly shocking. He's only a first-level celestial deity. How can he possibly have such powerful battle strength? Sword Dao Infinitum and Ashen Flames Break Army spoke one after another with grave expressions. In their hearts, they had already regarded Lu Ming as an opponent of the same level. They were old rivals with Emojui, so they naturally knew how terrifying his secret skill was. Even for them, it was extremely difficult to break out of it. As for the other geniuses of the three overlord forces, they were completely stunned. Emojui, the divine son of the Yimo Academy, stood at the peak of the younger generation in the Qintian galaxy. There was almost no one who could be his opponent. There were only a few people in the entire Qintian galaxy who could be his opponent. Lu Ming was actually able to fight against Emojui. This was simply unbelievable. Emojui, is this your full strength? I heard you've also cultivated an ancient god body. Show me, or you won't be my match. Lu Ming said loudly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. The clash of ancient god bodies, since you want to experience it, I'll fulfill your wish. Emojui's face was gloomy. With a loud shout, his body swelled rapidly and he turned into an ancient god. And NBSP, however, the ancient god body he had transformed into had orange scales. His orange-armored ancient god body and height were much shorter than Lu Ming's. However, Emojui's cultivation was too high. He was a 6th-level celestial deity, much stronger than Lu Ming. With the support of his powerful cultivation, his power was extremely terrifying. Boom! Emojui took a step forward and his huge body rushed towards Lu Ming. A huge black demonic blade appeared in his hand and he slashed at Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and rushed towards Emojui. Boom! 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 The two of them fought intensely and launched fierce attacks. This was the most direct collision and it was extremely intense. It was like two giants were suddenly fighting each other. During this period, the two of them used all kinds of means. Lu Ming continuously cast the Ice Chain, the Divine Dragon Materialization Technique, and the 3 Apocalyptic Strikes. Emojuri also used all sorts of terrifying secret skills and divine skills. One had to admit that Emojui's combat strength was extremely strong. The two of them fought for hundreds of moves, but it was still difficult to determine the winner. The divine power that Emojui controlled was divine-grade divine power. Furthermore, the divine skills and secret skills that he cultivated were also very powerful, and were not any weaker than Lu Ming's. Moreover, his cultivation was 5 levels higher than Lu Ming's. This was the 5th level of the celestial deity realm. The gap was truly shocking. Lu Ming's advantage was the universe Thousand Tao mantra. He had cultivated 6 divine flames and his body was filled with 6 types of divine power. However, other than the ruler's divine power, 2 of Lu Ming's other 5 types of divine power were divine-grade divine power while the other 3 were king-grade divine power. The difference between the sacred-grade divine power and the king-grade divine power was too great. Even if there were 5 types combined, the difference would not be too great. Lu Ming estimated that his current level of divine power was barely comparable to Emojui, who was a 3rd-level celestial god, or even worse. Lu Ming's other advantage was that his battle formula had quadrupled combat power, and his green-armored ancient god body. With all these advantages combined, he would be able to fight against Emojuri in terms of combat power. The two of them were evenly matched, and in the blink of an eye hundreds of moves had been exchanged. Terrifying. Why is Lu Ming so terrifying? This is heaven-defying. I've never even heard of his name before. I can't believe he's this strong. The Kongxian sect actually has such a genius. The heavens are going to change in the future. The other geniuses of the 3 overlord forces couldn't calm down. Even Sword Dao Wuji and Song Impajun's faces were very serious. Buzz. An NBSP whoosh. This was especially so for Wuji, whose body was constantly emitting the sound of a sword. He was like a divine sword, and his sword intent soared to the sky, ready to attack at any time. However, he still held back. After all, he was a divine son. If he attacked Lu Ming together with Emojui, he would lose face. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming and Emojui's battle continued, and the more they fought, the more tragic it became. Emojui's saber light landed on Lu Ming's body. The green scales flew in the air and deep wounds appeared on Lu Ming's body. However, at the same time, Lu Ming's long spear also struck Emojui's body. Emojui staggered and a large piece of his body exploded. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. It was a terrible sight. However, the two of them had no intention of stopping. They were still fighting fiercely, and their fighting spirit was getting stronger and stronger. The others held their breaths and watched with widened eyes. They wanted to see who would win between Lu Ming and Emojui. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming brandished his long spear like a dragon. He performed the first and second forms of the 3 apocalyptic strikes in succession. This was also due to the support of the quantity formula, where Shun power was endless. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult to support. It was only with so many conditions that Lu Ming was able to unleash such powerful combat abilities. Otherwise, it was impossible for a first-level celestial deity to have such combat abilities. Although Emojui was only a 6th-level celestial deity, his combat strength was enough to kill an ordinary 8th-level celestial deity. He could even fight a 9th-level celestial deity. In other words, Lu Ming was only at the 1st-level celestial deity realm, but he could fight a 9th-level celestial deity. This was simply a miracle. 3 apocalyptic strikes, 3 apocalyptic strikes. Since the start of the war, Lu Ming's mind was unusually calm. He was enjoying the war and absorbing experience from it. His understanding of the 3 apocalyptic strikes was getting deeper and deeper. He had a feeling that the 3 apocalyptic strikes were about to break through. He had been cultivating the 3 apocalyptic strikes to the peak of the 6th stage for a long time. After such a long period of tempering, his understanding of the 3 apocalyptic strikes had become very deep. After the intense battle with Emojuri, he really had a feeling that he was about to break through. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. Buzz! All of a sudden, Lu Ming brandished his long spear. The long spear vibrated and a crescent-shaped spear light slashed out. Its power was much stronger than before. He had broken through. At this moment, the 3 apocalyptic strikes had broken through to the 7th level. Every time a divine skill was broken through, its power would increase greatly. The crescent-shaped spear radiance clashed with Emojui's saber radiance, causing it to shake violently. How is that possible? Emojui's expression changed drastically, revealing a look of disbelief. At this critical moment, how could Lu Ming's attack power increase again? Bang! Emojui's body trembled and he took a few steps back before he could stabilize himself. Ha 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 again. Lu Ming laughed heartily. He kept brandishing his long spear. The breakthrough of the 3 apocalyptic strikes had made it easier for him to cast them. Moreover, he had broken through to the 7th stage of the 3 apocalyptic strikes and could already cast the 3rd move. Of course, it would take time to cultivate. Lu Ming had not cultivated and naturally could not cast it. However, the power of the first move, Sky Piercing, and the second move, Moon Cutting, had also been greatly improved. Bang! Bang! The situation had completely changed. Lu Ming's attack power had suddenly increased and he had completely suppressed Emojui. Emojui bellowed continuously and tried his best, but he was still no match for Lu Ming. He was forced to retreat and for a moment, he could only defend himself but not fight back. Originally, his combat strength was on par with Lu Ming's. Now that Lu Ming's divine skill had a breakthrough, the balance was tilted. This Lu Ming has such a terrifying talent. He actually managed to break through to the divine skill in the middle of a great battle. Boundless Sword Dao's eyes flashed with a hint of shock. Of course, such talent is shocking. Songyin Pajuan licked his lips. His eyes filled with shock and battle intent. They were also peerless geniuses. However, it was their first time meeting someone like Lu Ming. Such a person cannot be left alive. Otherwise, there will be no place for us in the Qin Heaven Star region in the future. Sword Dao Wuji's eyes flashed with a shocking cold light. Boundless Sword Dao, do you want to join forces with Emojui? I can't do such a thing. If we want to fight, we have to fight fair and square. Songyin Pajuan said disdainfully. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2906 4 Great Experts, if you don't make a move, I'll make a move. Sword Dao Wuji said coldly. The sword intent on his body suddenly soared, and a bright sword light slashed at Lu Ming. The sword radiance was tens of thousands of meters long and had a mountain-like pressure. It carried a vast sword chi and was extremely terrifying. As soon as he made his move, Sword Dao Limitless used his killing move. Emojui's eyes brightened when he saw Sword Dao Wuji attack. He immediately attacked Lu Ming with all his might. "You guys are despicable." Not far away, Ouyang Qingxiang shouted. However, with her strength, she could only be anxious and could not interfere. Moonslaying sword, moonslaying sword. At this moment, Lu Ming took out a long spear in his left hand. With a long spear in each hand, he performed the moon slashing move at the same time. One of them was aimed at Sword Dao Wuji, while the other was aimed at Emojui. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's attack collided with Emojui's and Sword Dao Wuji's attacks at the same time, creating a terrifying explosion. Lu Ming groaned and his body trembled. A powerful force surged from both sides. In particular, his Sword Dao was boundless, and he controlled divine-grade divine power. At the same time, the Sword Dao he cultivated had extremely terrifying offensive power. Lu Ming could feel that there were tiny sword qis constantly drilling into his body and slashing at his scales, causing sparks to fly in all directions. Lu Ming's expression changed. His body turned rapidly and he broke away from Emojui and boundless Sword Dao's encirclement. Then, his divine power surged and destroyed the sword qi on the surface of his body. Boom! Boom! Sword Dao Wuji and Emojui stepped out, their powerful auras pressing down on Lu Ming. "Very good. You two want to join forces, right? Then come. Even if I die, I can take one of you down with me. Which one of you should I take with me?" Lu Ming's eyes glinted coldly as he revealed a menacing killing intent. He kept scanning Sword Dao Wuji and Emojui. Sword Dao Wuji and Emojui's expressions changed and they stopped. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. The effect of this move was quite good. Back then, he had used this move to scare off Four Eyes Void Court and Zhuobuju. Now he was using the same move again, causing Emojui and Sword Dao Limitless to be extremely wary. Of course, this was also because he was strong in battle, so this move was effective. If his combat strength was not up to par, he would not be able to match either Emojui or Boundless Sword Dao. The two of them could easily kill Lu Ming if they joined forces, and this move would be useless. The main thing was that Lu Ming's strength was extremely shocking. In a one-on-one battle, he could even suppress Emojui. If he really went all out, he could really take one person down with him. That was why they were so afraid. "This fellow is trying to scare us. I don't believe that he would really risk his life," Emojui roared angrily. He really wanted to kill Lu Ming. "You all joined hands to kill me, so why shouldn't I go all out? What a joke." Lu Ming sneered. Emojui was at a loss for words. Indeed, he was about to die, so how could he not risk his life? "Come on, it's not bad to drag a son of God down with you." Lu Ming bellowed, his fighting spirit soaring. Boundless Sword Dao did not move. He was really a little afraid. If Lu Ming went all out and perished together with him, it would really not be worth it. Didn't Lu Ming just kill a holy son of the inextinguishable sword sect? What did it have to do with him? If Lu Ming's ability was low, he could kill him easily. Naturally, he would kill Lu Ming and win over his reputation. However, now that Lu Ming's ability was enough to threaten his life, he had to think twice. "Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, you're overthinking it. I saw you guys fighting just now and was itching to test your abilities. Your abilities are indeed amazing. I'm impressed. If you guys want to fight, continue. I won't disturb you any longer." Sword Dao Wuji laughed and kept his sword intent. He retreated 100 miles away, leaving the battlefield to Lu Ming and Emojui. "This guy is really a hypocrite." Emojui gritted his teeth, his expression ugly. "Emojui, do you want to continue?" Lu Ming had his eyes on Emojui. "Humph, Lu Ming, I'll let you off today. We'll fight again in the future." Emojui spat out some harsh words and retreated as well, putting some distance between him and Lu Ming. He felt a little guilty if he were to continue fighting Lu Ming alone. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not continue to fight with Emojui. Firstly, although he could suppress Emojui with his strength, it was impossible for him to kill Emojui. Secondly, Sword Dao Wuji and Songyan Junpe were also watching him closely. If he was injured in the battle with Emojui, he had no doubt that Sword Dao Wuji would take the opportunity to kill him. Now was not the time for a war. At the scene, there was a confrontation between four experts. The others had complicated feelings. In the past, among the Qin Heaven 13 clans, Sword Dao Wuji, Emojui, and Ashen Flame Army Breaker were the only ones who stood out and suppressed everyone. Now they knew that there would be 4 great experts in the Qin Heaven 13 clans. Lu Ming would be one of them. It's good to have one more person. Let's follow the previous method. Well, join forces and break open the stone tower's door. If there are treasures inside, well, rely on our own abilities. How about it? Song Yin said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Then make your move. Song Yin said as a hot aura spread out from his body and he threw out a punch. His fist force was extremely hot, like a ball of lava, and it blasted toward the stone tower's door. Buzz! Whoosh! Sword Dao Wuji Emojui, and Lu Ming also attacked the stone tower's door. The stone tower looked very old, as if it would decay and collapse at any time. However, when their attacks landed on the stone tower's door, the door only shook violently and didn't explode. What are you guys doing? Let's attack together. Emojui's gaze swept across the other geniuses from the unique Demon Academy. The Heaven's favorites' expressions changed. They then attacked together and attacked the stone tower's door. At the same time, the paragons of the Indestructible Sword Sect, the Boundless Holy Land, and Ouyang Xiangxiang all attacked. One attack after another bombarded the stone tower's door. Boom! 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 The stone tower's door kept shaking. After a while, a crack appeared on the door. Success, continue. Sword Dao Wu's eyes lit up, and he attacked even harder. Beams of dazzling sword chi kept slashing at the door. Kacha! Kacha! More and more cracks appeared on the door. Not long after, there was a loud bang and the door exploded. Behind the gate was a wide hall. Through the gate, one could clearly see an altar in the middle of the hall. Above the altar, 3 bronze array plates were floating. Array plates, 3 array plates. The eyes of Lu Ming and the group lit up, emitting a burning glow. Buzz! 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 Lu Ming, Sword Dao Infinitum, Songyin Pajun, and Emojui moved at the same time and rushed into the hall. The hall was very spacious and there was nothing else except for the altar and the 3 array plates. The array plate is mine. Emojui formed a huge hand and grabbed at the 3 array plates. Chapter 2907 Selling Array Plates. Emojui grabbed the 3 array plates. He had a huge appetite and wanted to take all 3 array plates. Get lost. Get lost, die. Sword Dao Infinitum and Grey Flame Army Breaker roared as they attacked at the same time. A terrifying sword light and a scorching fist force shot towards Emojui. Emojui's expression changed and he could only defend with all his might. However, he was fighting 1 against 2. How could he fight against them? He was immediately forced to retreat. As Emojui was forced back, Boundless Sword Dao and Songyin Jun Breaker moved and grabbed an array plate each. On the other side, Lu Ming also grabbed an array plate. Almost at the same time, the 3 of them each grabbed an array plate and then retreated. The 3 array plates were divided among the 3 of them. Damn it, you guys! Emojui's face turned extremely ugly when he saw this. His appetite had been too big just now, wanting to take all 3 array plates for himself, but he had been forced back by Sword Dao Infinitum and Grey Flame Army Breaker. He didn't expect that after he retreated, he wouldn't have a share of the array plates. It was impossible for him to get the array plates that Lu Ming, Sword Dao Infinitum, and Flame Breaker had obtained. He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. And NBSP at this moment, all of them turned to look outside the hall. This was because there was a dazzling light shining outside the hall. The few of them moved and rushed out of the hall. They saw that in the distant sky, there were many bright halos shining. It was clearly the light of the galaxy formation. What's going on? Why is this galaxy formation suddenly shining again? Was there nothing unusual before? Could it be that the God Kings outside are attacking the formation again? Some people guessed. Shouldn't be possible. Since those God Kings have already sent us in, they know that we are inside. It's impossible for them to rashly attack the formation, nor would they allow others to attack the formation. Someone said and everyone agreed. This galaxy formation was mysterious and unpredictable. No one knew what kind of danger it would cause if they attacked the formation from the outside. If they attacked the formation from the outside and all the geniuses who entered the galaxy died, it would be a great loss. Why would those sect masters and elders do that? Could it be that the 12 array plates have been taken by someone else, causing this abnormality? Another person guessed. It's possible, it's very possible. Just now, senior brother Jian Dao and the others were fighting for the array plate. The moment they got the array plate, the light in the sky shone. One of the immortal sword sex paragons shouted. Many people nodded. This was the most likely possibility. It was very likely that all 12 array plates had been obtained by someone else, and that was why the galaxy array had such a strange reaction. You guys go out and take a look. You guys go too. Sword Dao Wuji emoji. And the others each sent out a few heaven's favorites to take a look. The few of them rose into the air and flew out of the galaxy. The rest of the people waited quietly. Lu Ming had also returned to his normal form, and was waiting at the side with Ouyang Qingxiang. Soon 7 days had passed, and the young men who had gone out earlier returned. What's the situation? Emoji was the first to ask. Senior brother, the array master outside has speculated that all the array plates have been obtained by someone else, which is why there is such a strange phenomenon. Everyone can go out now. One of the geniuses from the Unique Devil Academy replied. As expected. Everyone's heart moved. Emoji snorted coldly and glanced at Lu Ming with an unfriendly look. Then he led the geniuses of the Unique Demon Academy and flew into the sky, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Let's go too. Sword Dao Wuji shouted and shot into the sky with the immortal sword sex elite. Brother Tsongyan, wait a moment. Just as Tsongyan Pajuan was about to move, Lu Ming called out. Lu Ming, what did you call me for? Could it be that you want to exchange pointers with me? Tsongyan Pajuan stopped and stared at Lu Ming in confusion. There's no need for sparring, Brother Tsongyan. I wonder if you're interested in array plates? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Of course I'm interested. What are you trying to do? Tsongyan Pajuan was even more confused. I have 2 array plates here, how about I sell them to you? Lu Ming's palm glowed and 2 array cards appeared in his palm. Sell it to me? This time it was not just Tsongyan Pajuan. The other geniuses of the boundless Holy Land, including Ouyang Xiangxiang, all widened their eyes and looked at Lu Ming in surprise. However, Lu Ming had obtained the 2 array plates. Naturally, Ouyang Qingxiang would not say much about how he wanted to deal with them. She suppressed the doubts in her heart and did not say much. Are you really going to sell it to me? Tsongyan Pajuan asked again. He was really confused. One must know that these array plates were what the sect masters and elders outside wanted. With these array plates, those sect masters and elders could enter this galaxy and fight for the star core. As long as they handed over the array plates, they would definitely be rewarded handsomely. Lu Ming actually wanted to sell the array plate to him. He had 10,000 doubts in his heart. Of course it's true. It's absolutely true. You can exchange for it with precious metals or divine crystals. Lu Ming smiled. He had no intention of bringing the array plate out and offering it to Dragon Boat Mountain. According to Bone Demon's estimation, once Dragon Boat Mountain obtained a star core, it would definitely be of great use. Dragon Boat's Mountain was very useful, but it was disadvantageous to Lu Ming. He would not hand the array cards to Dragon Boat's Mountain. Selling it to Tsongyan Pajuan now was the most cost-effective. Alright, you guys, take out all the gold-attributed materials you have, then offer up the array plate and well split the reward equally. Tsongyan Pajuan looked at the geniuses from the boundless sacred land. One by one, the geniuses of the boundless holy land took out all the rare and precious metal materials they'd found in the galaxy and piled them up. Brother Lu, how about these metal materials and 100 million mid-grade divine crystals for your 2 array plates? Tsongyan Pajuan looked at Lu Ming uneasily. To be honest, the price he offered was too low. If they went out with 2 array plates, the reward they would get would definitely be far above this number. Sure. Lu Ming did not mind. It was better to sell as much as possible than to offer it to Dragon Boat Mountain. Tsongyan Pajuan was overjoyed. He handed the gold attribute materials and 100 million divine crystals to Lu Ming. Lu Ming also gave the 2 array plates to Tsongyan Pajuan. Haha, Lu Ming. I'll accept your favor. See you another day. Tsongyan Pajuan laughed heartily and left with the geniuses of the boundless sacred land. Qingxiang, please keep this matter a secret for me after you leave. Lu Ming told Ouyang Qingxiang. Of course, he couldn't let the Dragon Boat Mountain know about this. Alright. Although Ouyang Qingxiang was puzzled, she still nodded. Then, the two of them rose into the air and left the place. After a period of time they left the galaxy. Outside the star system, the sect heads of the Qin Heaven 13 clans and the other god kings were all waiting nervously. Obtaining the star core on the Dragon Boat Mountain. As soon as Lu Ming and the rest came out, they saw that almost all the paragons of the other sects had come out and gathered around the sect masters. Some of the sect leaders' faces were dark. For example, some of the weaker ones in the top 10 sects didn't even get an array plate. Without an array plate, it was almost equivalent to losing the qualification to compete for the star core. Lu Ming's gaze swept across and he noticed a few Divine King powerhouses from Dragon Boat Mountain and Kong Xian sect not far away. Lu Ming flew over and realized that the Supreme Holy Sun, the Transient Light Holy Sun, and the rest had already gathered around Dragon Boat Mountain and the others. Lu Ming is really lucky. The Supreme Holy Sun's face darkened when he saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming cast a cold glance at the Supreme Saint Sun, the Transient Light Saint Sun, and the others. The latter shivered and broke out in a cold sweat. However, Lu Ming did not make a move here. Nor did he reveal the fact that the Supreme Holy Sun had colluded with Emojuri to kill him. The founding member of the Supreme Clan, Supreme Elder, was also here. Lu Ming knew that even if he told the truth now, he would not be able to kill Supreme Universe. He might as well not say anything. When he had the chance in the future, he would naturally get rid of Supreme Universe. Lu Ming, how many array plates did you get? When they saw Lu Ming, Dragon Boat Mountain's gaze turned to him with a look of hope. Sect Master, I'm useless. I didn't get a single array plate this time. Lu Ming pretended to cup his fists and put on a ashamed look. You didn't get it? Don't try to lie to this lord. Dragon Boat Mountain's face sank, and a hint of gloominess flashed through his eyes. Lu Ming, you're spouting nonsense. You've already obtained an array plate on the first planet you've entered. How dare you lie to the Sect Master? How dare you? The Supreme Saint shouted. When they first entered the first planet, he competed with Lu Ming and he saw with his own eyes that Lu Ming obtained an array plate. What? Upon hearing the words of the Supreme Universe, the Dragon Boat Mountain's gaze turned even gloomier as it swept its gaze over Lu Ming. That's right. In the beginning I did obtain an array plate. I was going to give it to the Sect Master, but someone colluded with Emojuri of the Unique Devil Academy to frame me. I was chased by Emojuri, and in order to save my life I gave that array plate to Emojuri. Otherwise I would have been dead. Lu Ming began to make up nonsense and even made a false accusation while he looked at Universe Master coldly. Don't you slander me. Who colluded with Emojuri? Supreme Universe's expression changed as he shouted. I'm not talking about you. Why are you so nervous? Lu Ming said indifferently. Supreme Universe was at a loss for words. However, he did believe Lu Ming's words. When Emojuri chased after Lu Ming, it might be as Lu Ming said. Lu Ming used the array plate in exchange for his life. Therefore, he did not refute it. Sect Master, if you don't believe me, I can swear that I don't have an array plate on me. Lu Ming made a vow. He wouldn't be afraid even if he swore on his life source because he didn't have an array plate on him. Dragon Boat Mountain's expression was unsightly. If he didn't have an array token, he wouldn't be able to enter the galaxy array and participate in the competition for the star core. This time the planetary core was very important to his plan. Haha, sect leader, Lu Ming and the rest did not get any array plates, but I did. At this moment Supreme Universe laughed. You got one. Dragon Boat Mountain's eyes lit up. That's right. Please take a look, Sect Master. There was a flash of light in Dragon Boat's hand and an array card appeared. He then cast a smug look at Lu Ming. Haha, one piece is enough. Dragon Boat Mountain laughed joyfully. He waved his hand and grabbed the array plate. Supreme Universe, you're very good. This time I'll definitely reward you handsomely. Many thanks, Sect Master. The Universe Master bowed and gave Lu Ming a provocative look. This guy actually got an array plate. Lu Ming pursed his lips and was somewhat speechless. He had sold the array plate to Grey Flame Breaking Army because he didn't want Dragon Boat Mountain to fight for the Star Core. He didn't expect that the Supreme Universe would obtain an array plate. Whoosh! At this time, not far away, a ray of light burst out and rushed towards the galaxy formation. It was the Demonic Academy's dean. He had already impatiently rushed toward the Galaxy Great Array. The other sect masters and divine kings who had obtained the array plates also moved at the same time, rushing towards the Galaxy Array. The Dragon Boat Mountain's figure also flashed. In the next moment, it appeared in the galaxy and continued to fly toward the core of the galaxy. It was so fast that Lu Ming had no idea how it left. There were a total of 12 array plates, which meant that 12 terrifying experts had rushed into the galaxy. With the array plate, the galaxy array did not have any abnormalities. Boom! In just a few breaths, a terrifying rumble erupted from the depths of the galaxy. Beams of dazzling divine light burst out and illuminated the universe. The God Kings are fighting, someone said with bright eyes. Obviously, the fight for the star core had already begun. A terrifying war must have broken out in the depths of the galaxy. Boom! Boom! Deep in the core of the planet, the rumbling became more and more intense. Beams of divine light of different colors shone in all directions. Even though they were standing outside the galaxy, they could still feel the slight vibration in the space. This was definitely extremely terrifying. One must know that they were standing outside the galaxy. They could feel the tremors even though they were separated by a galaxy. It could be seen how intense the battle was. A terrifying battle between God Kings that could shatter a planet was not just talk. The battle continued for a moment. Suddenly, everyone saw a stream of light rushing out of the galaxy at an astonishing speed. There were other streams of light hot on his heels. Could it be that the winner has already been decided and the star core has been obtained? The same thought flashed through everyone's mind, and they couldn't help but widen their eyes, wanting to know who had obtained the star core. The speed of the light was shockingly fast. In a few breaths it was about to fly out of the range of the galaxy. Dragon Boat's Mountain. Lu Ming was greatly shocked. The stream of light that was flying at the very front was the Dragon Boat Mountain. Dragon Boat Mountain. Hand over the star core. Don't even think about taking the star core for yourself. Behind him a series of angry roars came, shaking the universe and stars. It was really the Dragon Boat Mountain that had obtained the star core. Buzz! The Dragon Boat's Mountain did not say a word. They increased their speed to the maximum and arrived beside Lu Ming and the others in the blink of an eye. Let's go! Dragon Boat Mountain waved his hand and a surge of divine power swept up Lu Ming and the others, flying into the distance at high speed. The other God King experts of the Kongxian sect followed closely behind the dragon boats. Chase them, don't let them escape. Chase! Behind them, the sect masters of the three overlord forces roared in anger. They led the experts under their banner and chased after Dragon Boat Mountain's group in a frenzy. In addition, the experts from the other sects had also caught up. The dragon boats carried Lu Ming and the group and flew at an astonishing speed. One planet after another passed by them. Rising Dragon Array. Not long after, they arrived at a teleportation formation nearby. Dragon Boat Mountain brought them into the teleportation formation and arrived on a planet near Planet Kongxian. Then they flew toward Planet Kongxian. Activate the Planet Protection Array. As soon as Dragon Boat's Mount landed in the Kongxian sect, his voice spread throughout the entire sect. Sect Master, it's the Sect Master. Sect Master has given the order to activate the Star Protection Formation. Activate the formation. The entire Kongxian sect was filled with noise, and powerful auras soared into the sky. In the next moment, pillars of light shot into the sky from different parts of the Kongxian sect. There were a total of 360 light pillars scattered across the planet. This was the formation base of the formation. Each of the 360 pillars of light was 10,000 miles wide, and they formed a huge formation that enveloped the entire Kongxian planet. This was the Planet Protection Array. It was similar to the Sect Protection Array that Lu Ming had encountered in the past. However, this kind of array was many times stronger. Could cover an entire star. In fact, powerful forces like the Qin Heavenly 13 clans, the Ice Soul clan, and the Scarlet Flame clan all had planet protection arrays to protect the safety of the main star. As soon as the Star Protection Array was activated, the teleportation array that Lu Ming and the rest had just come out of glowed. Then, the sect masters of the three overlord forces and other experts arrived. They flew towards Planet Kongxian and stood outside of it. Dragon Boat Mountain. Hand over the star core. The college chief of the unique Devil Academy roared and attacked. He struck out with his palm. A huge palm that covered an area of at least several million miles was formed and smashed towards Kongxian planet. Boom! The huge palm struck the Great Formation, causing it to light up. Rays of terrifying divine light shot out and clashed with the palm of the dean of the unique Demon Academy. In the end, the huge hand was riddled with holes and dissipated in the air. Seeing that he had blocked the attack of the headmaster of the Winged Demon Academy, the other members of the Kongxian sect all heaved a sigh of relief. Dragon Boat Mountain, hand over the Star Core. Do you think that you can stop so many of us with just a great formation? The Demonic Academy's headmaster furiously shouted. Attention all of you. Activate the array with all your might. The mission I'm giving you is to guard and defend for half a month. After half a month, I have a way to repel the enemy. All of you can go. Lu Ming, stay behind. Dragon Boat Mountain instructed. After that, the Divine King experts, the Supreme Universe Master, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the others left the place one after another, leaving only Lu Ming and the dragon boats behind. Attack! Outside the formation, the Dean of the Unique Devil Academy shouted angrily and launched another attack. And NBSP in addition, the sect leader of the Indestructible Sword Sect, the Lord of the Boundless Sacred Land, and the other God Kings also began to attack. One after another, terrifying attacks rained down on Kongxian planet. Each of these attacks was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming felt that each of them could turn him into ashes and leave nothing behind. Lu Ming, follow me. Dragon Boat Mountain waved his sleeves and flew towards a certain place in the Kongxian sect with Lu Ming. We're finally going to start. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Now that Lu Ming had broken through to the celestial god level, he reckoned that the dragon boats were about to make their move. The Bone Demon speculated that the Dragon Boat Mountain's physical body had already been occupied by another powerful existence, and that existence's main body should have been suppressed by the trapping dragon, rising to the heaven formation. The Dragon Boat Mountain's goal was to rescue its main body. Not long after, they arrived at a place. The Dark Dragon's secret realm. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. This was the entrance to the Dark Dragon's secret realm. Back then, Lu Ming had obtained the quantity formula in the Dark Dragon's secret realm. Could it be that the Rising Dragon array mentioned by the Dragon Boat Mountain was in the Dark Dragon's secret realm? Lu Ming's guess was right. The Dragon Boat Mountain brought Lu Ming into the Dark Dragon's secret realm in a single step. After entering the Dark Dragon's secret realm, they flew in one direction and soon arrived in front of a huge mountain range. This mountain range was extremely huge, as if a divine dragon was lying on the ground. Boom! The Dragon Boat Mountain suddenly made a move. With a wave of its hand, a divine light slashed towards the mountain range. Just as the divine light was about to hit the mountain range seemed to come to life. It turned into a divine dragon and flew into the sky, disappearing into the firmament. Following that, a light screen appeared in the mountain range area earlier, blocking the divine light from Dragon Boat Mountain. From a distance, it looked like a light shield that was covering the ground. Rising Dragon Array. Dragon Boat Mountain muttered to himself, his eyes flickering with heat and anticipation. It's really the Rising Dragon Array. There's definitely a powerful being suppressed in this array. I was right. In his sea of consciousness, the Bone Devil's voice sounded. Of course, he was communicating with his soul, and the Bone Devil's control was very subtle, so the dragon boats didn't notice. Dragon Boat Mountain, why did you bring me here? Lu Ming asked despite knowing the answer. I'm lending it to you, of course. An army that has been trained for 1,000 days can only be used once. The dark dragon blood curse that I've cultivated in your body for so long can finally be put to use. Dragon Boat Mountain laughed loudly, and within his laughter, there was an incomparable ferocity and madness. Following that, Dragon Boat Mountain's hands rapidly formed seals. At the same time, a dazzling light burst out from Lu Ming's body. Then black runes spread out like tiny snakes. The dark dragon blood curse was activated. Countless black runes covered Lu Ming's entire body. Go in. Dragon Boat Mountain waved his hand and Lu Ming flew out, heading towards the coiling dragon rising to the heaven formation. Buzz! When Lu Ming neared the Rising Dragon Array, the array shook and burst out with rays of light that charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. He could sense that the light contained a terrifying power that could destroy everything. Lu Ming would definitely not be able to withstand it. However, at this moment, the pitch-black dark dragon blood curse on Lu Ming's body seemed to come to life. It extended from Lu Ming's body and entangled with the light of the rising dragon formation. They were like living creatures fighting each other. Lu Ming's figure entered the rising dragon array without a hitch. Ha ha ha, the dark dragon blood curse can indeed counter the rising dragon array. I can finally escape, I can finally escape. Dragon Boat Mountain laughed crazily and vented some of his emotions. He seemed to have gone mad. Following that, the Dragon Boat Mountain formed hand seals again. The dark dragon blood curse on Lu Ming's body shone brightly. Then, a terrifying suction force was produced. At this moment, all of Lu Ming's blood, essence, energy, and spirit were surging towards the dark dragon blood curse, as if they were about to be devoured by it. Dragon Boat Mountain, you said you wouldn't harm my life. If you continue like this, I won't be able to hold on any longer. Lu Ming roared. Chapter 2910 Counterattack begins. Lu Ming, you're really naive. How can we break the rising dragon formation if we don't sacrifice you to the dark dragon blood curse? How can I escape? Lu Ming, rest in peace. You'll die a worthy death if you can help me get out of this. Ha ha ha. The dragon boat's master laughed maniacally and sped up his hand seals. The dark dragon blood curse on Lu Ming's body grew wildly like wild grass. Countless small snakes extended out with Lu Ming's body as the core. After these little snakes extended out, they intertwined with the rising dragon array, tightly entangling it. Then a hole was actually opened in the rising dragon array. A passage appeared where the dark dragon blood curse was. Roar! At this moment, a roar came from the depths of the rising dragon array. It was a dragon's roar, and it carried a terrifying pressure, making Lu Ming feel scared. A divine dragon. A divine dragon is trapped in the coiling dragon, rising to heaven formation. The true form of this dragon boat is a divine dragon. Bone shouted. Lu Ming's expression changed. He didn't expect that the being that occupied the dragon boat's physical body would actually be a divine dragon. Could it be the dark dragon of the divine dragons? Lu Ming had a thought in his mind. Dark dragons were extremely rare divine dragons, but they were extremely terrifying existences. Every single one of them had astonishing strength. Roar! Roar! From the depths of the rising dragon array, the roars of dragons could be heard continuously, filled with excitement. Ha ha ha, I'm about to break free. In the future, the Qin Heaven Star region will be my world. The Dragon Boat Mountain laughed and took a step forward, stepping into the passage that had been opened by the rising dragon formation. If the rising dragon formation had not been activated, no one would be able to enter the Dragon Boat Mountain. Now that the dark dragon blood curse had opened up a passage in the rising dragon array, he could pass through it and help his main body escape. Then he could use the star core to restore his strength to its peak. The moment he recovered to his peak state, no one in the Qin Heaven Star region would be his match. Lu Ming, you are really my lucky star. The dragon boats walked toward Lu Ming and sneered. Lu Ming, now is the time. At this moment, Bone Demon sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Oh really? Am really your lucky star? Lu Ming looked at the Dragon Boat Mountain and sneered. Then, he waved his hand and an array disc flew out of his hand. Lu Ming had asked Yu Wuya to refine this array disc. Before Lu Ming went to the Darklight Galaxy, Yu Wuya had already refined it and handed it to Lu Ming. As soon as the formation disc flew out, it expanded rapidly and hovered above Lu Ming's head. At the same time, it emitted countless rays of light. These rays of light resonated with the rising dragon formation. Bang! 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 At that moment, the dark dragon blood curse on Lu Ming's body exploded continuously as if it was crushed by a force and dispersed. At the same time, a steady stream of energy from the quantity formula gushed into Lu Ming's body, keeping his divine power at its peak. What's going on? What's going on? Dragon Boat Mountain's eyes were wide open in shock, and his face was filled with disbelief. He could not understand why the dark dragon blood curse planted on Lu Ming's body would suddenly explode. Naturally, he did not know that Lu Ming had used the array disc that the Bone Demon had taught him to refine, and that he had used the power of the rising dragon array to destroy it. Dragon Boat Mountain, the one to die today is you. Lu Ming shouted coldly. The formation disk above his head emitted a dazzling radiance. Then with a wave of his hand, the entire rising dragon formation trembled. Then countless rays of light rushed towards the dragon boats. What happened? How can you control the rising dragon array? Dragon Boat Mountain cried out in disbelief. However, in the next moment, the beams of light from the rising dragon formation struck the bodies of the dragon boats. Boom! Boom! The dragon boats tried their best to resist, and a series of explosions erupted. However, the power of the rising dragon formation was too strong. Even with the Dragon Boat Mountain's strength, it was difficult to resist it. He was bombarded by beams of light, and the powerful force suppressed the Dragon Boat Mountain. Boom! Dragon Boat Mountain directly knelt on the ground, causing dust and smoke to fill the air. Roar! The Dragon Boat Mountain let out a beast-like roar. The terrifying divine power of the Divine King realm erupted. It was as if a planet was burning. It wanted to break through the suppression of the rising dragon formation. Kill him! Lu Ming shouted. The array disk above his head glowed brighter and brighter, completely merging with the rising dragon array. This was the array disk refined by Lu Ming of the Bone Devil cult. It was extremely mysterious and could control the rising dragon array for a short period of time to kill the dragon boats. Buzz! The coiling dragon rising to the heaven formation started to shake as if it had a mind of its own. Rays of light seemed to have turned into chains that wrapped around the dragon boats. Although the Dragon Boat Mountain tried its best to resist, it was still useless. Its body was tightly bound by the light beam chains formed by the rising dragon array. These chains of light had terrifying suppression and obliterating effects. Once they wrapped around the target, they would kill the target. Damn it! The Dragon Boat Mountain roared as it struggled. It was simply in disbelief. Lu Ming could actually control the rising dragon array. This was completely beyond his expectations. He had studied it for countless years, but could not find a way to control the rising dragon formation. If he had known this method, why would he need Lu Ming's help to refine the dark dragon blood curse? He would have released his original body a long time ago. Lu Ming, a young junior disciple, actually knew the method to control the rising dragon array, but now he didn't have time to think too much. How to escape was the top priority. Lu Ming, what are you doing? How dare you offend your superior? Why aren't you letting me go? Dragon boats roared in anger and put on the airs of the sect leader of Kongxian sect to pressure Lu Ming. What a joke. You want my life and I don't dare to resist? Is there something wrong with your brain? Lu Ming sneered in disdain and continued, moreover, you're not the sect leader of the Kongxian sect. Longzhou's Mountain. The soul of the real dragon Zhou's Mountain has long been destroyed by you. You're the dark dragon inside, right? You. How do you know? This time Dragon Boat Mountain was even more shocked. Lu Ming could even guess this. He was simply a monster. That's right, I'm not Dragon Boat Mountain, I'm Dark Dragon. Lu Ming, do you know how strong I am? Once I escape, I can suppress the Qin Heaven star system with a flip of my hand. Now let me go quickly and I can swear that I won't harm your life. I can even give you a great fortune. Dragon Boat Mountain roared. Seeing that threatening them wouldn't work, Dragon Boat Mountain immediately changed their strategy and changed to baiting and roping them in. Great fortune? I don't care. It'll only be at ease after I get rid of you. Lu Ming shouted coldly and continued to control the rising dragon formation to kill the dragon boats. Bang! Bang! A series of explosions rang out from Dragon Boat's body. Those were caused by his divine power being crushed by the power of the trapping dragon rising to heaven formation. Chapter 2911 Critical Moment. Dragon Boat Mountain was already on the verge of being unable to withstand the attacks. The divine power on his body continued to explode, and wounds appeared on his body, causing blood to flow out. After that, the power of the rising dragon array seeped into his body and went straight for the soul of Dragon Boat Mountain. Roar! At this moment, a dragon's roar came from the dragon boat's mouth. The space between his brows shone brightly, and the shadow of a pitch-black dragon flew out, trying to escape. This was a part of the dark dragon's soul. It had occupied the physical body of Dragon Boat Mountain and was controlling it from there. At this moment, Yulong's soul was forced out by the rising dragon array. The moment Yulong's soul came out, He wanted to escape. However, he was bound by the power of the rising dragon array and could not escape at all. As soon as Yulong's soul came out, Dragon Boat's physical body was no longer able to resist. It directly exploded with loud bangs and turned into ashes under the suppression of the rising dragon array. The grandmaster of his generation, the sect leader of the Kongxian sect, had truly disappeared from this world. All that was left was a storage ring floating in the air. Naturally, the rising dragon array would not attack the storage ring. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. A stream of divine power rolled out and the storage ring was in his hand. Lu Ming could not help but reveal a happy expression on his face. The Dragon Boat's mountain must have hidden the star core in the storage ring. Now it was in Lu Ming's hands. That was a peerless treasure that even the King of Gods would fight to the death for. How could Lu Ming not be tempted? Lu Ming, I want you to die a horrible death. The soul of the Dragon Boat's mountain was howling madly. At this moment it was being attacked by the rising dragon formation, and its soul had already become much weaker. If this continued, it would collapse in no time. Roar! Roar! A deafening roar came from the depths of the rising dragon array. It was the roar of a dark dragon. Boom! 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 The entire land shook violently. Not good, Yulong is going to forcefully attack the formation. Bone was nervous. Boom! 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 The quaking in the depths of the formation became more and more intense. Through the gap, they could see that the huge dark dragon was struggling with all its might. Its huge body twisted and turned as it crawled toward Lu Ming. The dark dragon blood curse from before had opened a gap in the trapping dragon rising to the heaven array. That dark dragon was going to crawl out through this gap. Walala! From a distance, a terrifying aura could be felt. Lu Ming almost could not breathe. This is bad. Lu Ming, quickly destroy this part of the soul. Bone quickly shouted. Kill, kill. Lu Ming controlled the rising dragon array with all his might, obliterating that part of the dark dragon's soul. Under the full force of the rising dragon array, this part of the soul finally exploded with a bang and disappeared. Lu Ming, you are courting death. Inside the rising dragon array, Dark Dragon let out an angry roar. His body emitted a hot light, and a terrifying aura gushed out like an avalanche, hitting the rising dragon array. His huge body followed the previous gap and continued to climb over. The two huge dragon eyes glared at Lu Ming ferociously, as if they could not wait to cut him into 8 pieces. The portion of soul that occupied Dragon Boat Mountain wasn't just a small portion. It was at least a small portion of the Dark Dragon's complete soul. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to control Dragon Boat Mountain for so many years and display such powerful battle prowess. The loss of this part of his soul was a heavy blow to Dark Dragon. Therefore, Lu Ming had to die. This is bad. Lu Ming, retreat quickly. Get out of the rising dragon formation, and use the formation to suppress him. Bone Demon shouted. Lu Ming did not hesitate at all. He retreated rapidly and rushed out of the rising dragon array. Die! I want you to die. Die! Yulong roared as a berserk power continued to burst forth. He charged madly through the gap from before. It had to be said that this dark dragon's strength was truly unfathomable. He had been suppressed here for God knows how many years, and now a part of his soul had been destroyed. However, the power he displayed was still terrifying. The entire rising dragon array was shaking violently. Suppress! Suppress! Lu Ming controlled the rising dragon formation with all his might. Countless light beam chains wrapped around Yulong. However, as Yulong struggled, many of the light beam chains broke and exploded. The dark dragon slowly crawled towards the outside of the coiling dragon rising to the heaven array. The main thing was that the dark dragon blood curse had opened a gap in the rising dragon array. Without this gap, no matter how strong the dark dragon was, it would have been difficult for it to break out. But now he was in danger. Bang! Bang! This dark dragon had a total of 7 dragon claws on its abdomen. It was a 7-clawed divine dragon. His 7 dragon claws stomped on the ground, step by step, as he walked toward the outside. Although he was constantly attacked by the rising dragon array, leaving wounds on his body, he did not care and attacked with all his might. He knew that this was his last chance. If he didn't take this chance to escape, he would be trapped here forever until his life was exhausted. Therefore, even if he had to pay a huge price, he had to escape. Moreover, Lu Ming had a star core on him. As long as he could escape, kill Lu Ming, and obtain the star core, he would be able to recover a part of his strength in a short period of time. Therefore, he charged forward without any regard for his life. Not long after, he actually managed to cover half the distance. Roar! The dark dragon roared, and a terrifying pressure rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled, and he was forced to retreat. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Yulong was too powerful. He was much stronger than Lu Ming. Even if the other party's strength was greatly reduced, a part of his soul was destroyed, and he was also severely injured by the rising dragon array. He was still astonishingly strong. Not good. If this continues, he might really escape. Once he does, he'll definitely be the first one to kill you. You can't escape from such an existence. Bone shouted. Then what do we do? Lu Ming asked. I'm going all out. I can only go all out. This time I can only go all out. Bone Demon's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. How do we fight? Lu Ming asked. Take the initiative to attack and charge into the enemy's mouth. Then, you will use all your strength to control the rising dragon array to deal with him. I will use a secret technique to completely destroy his soul. Bone said. Alright, let's do that. Lu Ming was a decisive person. Although doing so would be akin to sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth and it was very dangerous, he still decided to do so. To be reborn after death. Roar! At this moment, Yulong opened his mouth and roared. His killing intent was as cold as a knife. Now is the time, Bone Demon shouted. Before the Bone Demon could finish its sentence, Lu Ming's body had already rushed out and into the dark dragon's mouth. You're really seeking death. Watch me completely refine you. Yulong roared, and his divine power boiled as it wrapped around Lu Ming. Chapter 2911 Killing Yulong. You're the one who's going to die. Lu Ming roared. The array disc above his head glowed as he used all his strength to control the rising dragon array to suppress the dark dragon. He had no choice but to divert more divine power to resist the rising dragon array. In this way, there was much less divine power to use against Lu Ming. Now watch me, I'm going to fight too. The Bone Demon roared and emitted a terrifying black light. He opened his mouth and spat out an ugly jar. Buzz! The earthen jar trembled slightly, exuding an extremely terrifying aura. This aura made Lu Ming's entire body tense up as if he was facing an extremely terrifying expert. Then, a ray of light emanated from the jar and enveloped Lu Ming. This ray of light could help Lu Ming resist the dark dragon's divine power. Lu Ming, you can't block it. It'll go and destroy his soul. The Bone Demon cried out and rushed into the earthen jar. It then controlled the jar and soared into the sky, disappearing from Lu Ming's sight. It seemed to be flying towards Yulong's head. Roar! Roar! Not long after, the dark dragon let out an earth-shattering roar. The divine power that was attacking Lu Ming was reduced by a lot. Ah! Who are you? Who are you? The dark dragon kept roaring as if it was terrified. His huge body kept struggling and rolling, slowly rushing out of the rising dragon array. Slowly, his head left the rising dragon array, which made the dark dragon struggle even more. Waves of divine energy whistled and charged at Lu Ming, causing the light shield around Lu Ming's body to shake continuously. Bone Demon, you have to be quick or he'll die here. Lu Ming roared in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. He could only control the rising dragon array with all his might to suppress the dark dragon. Just like that, a few moments passed. Yulong had already left the coiling dragon rising to the heaven formation by more than half. His struggle and counterattack became more and more intense. No, I beg you, spare me. At this moment, Yulong let out a terrified scream and begged for mercy. Disappear. Then Bone's cold voice sounded. Roar. The dark dragon let out an indignant roar. In the next moment, the divine power that was charging at Lu Ming all retreated and disappeared without a trace. Did you succeed? Lu Ming revealed a look of anticipation. Buzz. At this moment, the Bone Demon controlled the jar and appeared in front of Lu Ming again. Senior Bone Demon, did you succeed? Lu Ming asked hopefully. It's a success. I finally destroyed the dark dragon's soul. This time it was really dangerous. It's a pity that I've suffered heavy losses and my vitality has been greatly damaged. The Bone Devil cried out in a miserable manner. Every time you make a move, you say you've suffered heavy losses. Lu Ming pursed his lips. Kid, what did you say? I'm telling you, I've really suffered a great loss this time. In the future, you must compensate me well, understand? The Bone Devil roared. Yes, I'll definitely compensate you well. Lu Ming could only smile apologetically. This time it was all thanks to the Bone Demon. Otherwise, Lu Ming would definitely be dead, and Yulong's plan would be carried out perfectly. Senior Bone, what should we do now? Lu Ming asked. This dark dragon's corpse is good stuff. I can live here for a while. You control the rising dragon array, and let the dark dragon out. I can also control it to defeat some of the enemies outside. Bone said. All right. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He immediately controlled the rising dragon array, and stopped suppressing the dark dragon. Bone Demon's figure flashed and headed towards Yulong's sea of consciousness. Then, he controlled Yulong's body and smoothly climbed out of the trapping dragon rising to the heaven array. As soon as he left the rising dragon array, Lu Ming flew out of the dark dragon's mouth. Boom! At this moment, a shocking aura erupted from Yulong's body. This aura made Lu Ming feel apprehensive. It was even stronger than the dragon boats. This Yulong has such terrifying strength. Now that his soul has been destroyed and he has been suppressed for so many years, he can still exert such an aura even when he is seriously injured. It's really terrifying. Lu Ming sighed. That's for sure. At its peak, this nether dragon was an existence that surpassed God Kings. Bone Demon's voice came from Yulong's forehead. An existence that surpasses God King? Lu Ming was amazed and looked forward to it. God Kings were existences that could shatter planets. How powerful would those who had surpassed God Kings be? Xianyang's condition for Lu Ming was to surpass the King of Gods. Only then would he be able to find her and help her. He had to reach this realm. Lu Ming, come on up. I'll bring you out. We'll talk after we defeat the people who are attacking the Kongxian sect. You'll have to stay in the Kongxian sect for a while. Bone said. Lu Ming nodded. He moved and landed on Yulong's head. Yulong twisted his body and rushed out. At this moment, Kongxian planet was in a crisis. The leaders of the three overlords, the Yimo Academy, the Immortal Sword Sect, and the Boundless Holy Land, led some of their God King experts and attacked the planet-protecting formation of the Kongxian sect with all their might. They were not the only ones. The top 10 sects had also joined in and attacked the planet-protecting formation of the Kongxian sect. Although Kongxian sect's planet-protecting formation was extremely powerful, there were too many powerhouses on the other side. After resisting for so long, it was already in a precarious situation and seemed to collapse at any moment. Dragonboat Mountain, get the hell out here. You want to stop us with just a great formation? Dream on. The Demonic Academy's college chief roared. The aura on his body was as deep as the ocean, and it condensed into many shocking demonic swords that slashed at the Kongxian sect's planet-protecting formation. That's right. You want to keep the star core for yourself? No way. Hand it over. The sect leader of the indestructible sword sect continued to unleash terrifying attacks. Each sword strike seemed to be able to split the entire Kongxian planet in half. Boom! 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 Under such a terrifying attack, Kongxian sect's planet-protecting formation kept shaking. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, some parts of the Kongxian sect's planet-protecting formation exploded. Not good, the star protection formation is about to be broken. An elder of Kongxian sect exclaimed. Once the planet-protecting formation was broken, they would definitely not be able to withstand the siege of so many experts outside. Sect Master, where did Sect Master go? The sect leader disappeared with Lu Ming. I wonder where they went. What do we do? The entire Kongxian sect was like an ant on a hot pan. Bang! Bang! More and more parts of the planet-protecting formation exploded. Finally, with a world-shaking explosion, the planet-protecting formation completely collapsed and disappeared. The auras of the Demonic Academy's Dean, the Immortal Sword Sect's Sect Master, and other peerless experts enveloped the entire Kongxian sect like a storm. Everyone from the Kongxian sect felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them. They were terrified and broke out in a cold sweat. They felt as if they were in deep trouble. The betrayal of a supreme clan. The demonic academy's college chief's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the entire Kongxian sect. Those who were caught by his gaze were all frightened and broke out in cold sweat. They did not dare to look him in the eye. Even some of the God King experts in the Kongxian sect were the same. The dean of the Yimo Academy was a true overlord figure in the Qintian Star region. He was an existence that stood at the peak. Ordinary God Kings were far from being his match. In the entire Kongxian sect, only the Dragon Boat Mountain could compete with the dean of the unique Demon Academy. This was also the reason why the Kongxian sect could become the head of the top 10 sections. It was because the other sect masters of the top 10 sects could not compete with the dean of the Yimo Academy. Now that the Dragon Boat Mountain was not around, how could the others dare to face an overlord like the dean of the unique Demon Academy? Where's Dragon Boat Mountain? Get him to come out. The Demonic Academy's college chief coldly shouted. Senior, Overlord Long, we don't know where he is now. An elder of the Kongxian sect replied. I wonder where he is? Did he think that hiding would be of any use? I'll destroy the Kongxian sect and see where he can hide. The college chief of the unique Devil Academy said coldly. His voice contained endless killing intent. Not good. Everyone in Kongxian sect was shocked. Boom! The college chief of the unique Devil Academy made his move. With a wave of his hand, an extremely huge demonic palm formed and pressed down on Kongxian sect. The demonic palm was simply too big, and it completely enveloped the most important inner and outer sects of the Kongxian sect. If this palm were to press down, the main gate of Kongxian sect would probably be razed to the ground. Stop him. Let's join hands. Angry voices came from within the Kongxian sect. Then 9 figures rushed into the sky. They were the 9 founding elders of the Kongxian sect. They were all divine kings. They attacked together and each of them used their ultimate moves. 9 brilliant attacks crashed toward the demonic palm in the sky. Boom! 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 9 terrifying collisions were produced. The sky and the earth were both shaking violently. Finally, the demonic palm was blocked and dispersed in the air. However, the 9 elders of the Kongxian sect grunted and their bodies trembled violently. They fell toward the main gate of the Kongxian sect and crashed heavily into the ground. Some of the weaker cultivators spat out a mouthful of blood and their faces turned pale. After all, there was still a huge gap between them and the college chief of the unique Devil Academy. Although they had blocked a move from the other party, they had also been injured. Let's see how many of my moves you can block. The Demonic Academy's college chief shouted coldly. A demonic sword flew out of his body. He held it in his hand, and a terrifying sword intent spread. The entire Kongxian sect was filled with despair. If the Demonic Academy's dean were to attack with all his might, the Kongxian sect would probably have to mobilize most of their elders in order to fight against him. However, one should not forget that there were still other elders in the unique Demon Academy. There were also experts from the Indestructible Sword sect and the Boundless Holy Land. If the other party attacked together, the Kongxian sect would be annihilated in an instant. We're finished. Some people's faces turned pale. Could it be that they were going to die here today? Dean, my supreme clan is willing to submit to the unique Demon Academy. Please, Dean, spare our lives. At this moment, a voice came from within the Kongxian sect. Then a person stepped into the air and stood in midair. He then bowed respectfully to the dean of the unique Demon Academy. The paragon is moving. It's him. He actually wants to rely on the unique Devil Academy. Shameless traitor. Many of the Kongxian sect members were roaring in their hearts, but they did not dare to curse out loud. Oh, you want to join me? The headmaster of the unique Devil Academy said. It's not me, it's my supreme clan. Why aren't you all coming out? Jizun's gaze swept across the people from the Jizun clan. Instantly many figures flew out. Among them were the Supreme Universe and the other Supreme clans. There were many experts and even 2 elders. Alright, I agree. The dean of the unique Devil Academy directly nodded and agreed. This was not a small force, so it would be a waste not to take it. Thank you, headmaster. From now on my supreme clan will follow your lead. Supreme Martial Artist Dong hurriedly said. Supreme Martial Artist, move. You traitor. You're despicable. How dare you betray the Kongxian sect? At this moment a furious roar rang out. It was Yu Wuya, and he glared at the supreme martial artist with a furious expression. What shameless! This is called, a wise man submits to circumstances. Yu Wuya, I advise you to surrender. What's the point of fearlessly resisting? Supreme martial artist Dong sneered. Despicable is despicable. You're still finding so many excuses for yourself. Yu Wuya shouted in anger. Supreme martial artist, move. This old man has truly misjudged you in the past. Your supreme clan is full of ingrates. The other elders of Kongxian sect also roared in anger. Humph! Supreme martial artist Dong shouted coldly. His face was extremely gloomy as he said coldly, a group of stubborn guys, if you want to die, this old man will not accompany you. After saying this much, Supreme martial artist Dong led the members of his supreme martial clan and flew in the direction of the dean of the unique demon academy. Then they obediently stood beside the dean like obedient dogs. Lu Ming, let's see how you die this time. The universe master stood in the crowd and roared in his heart. His eyes scanned the Kongxian sect, trying to find Lu Ming and kill him. Unfortunately, he could not find Lu Ming even after looking around. Since you're not here, the people closest to you must die. Ouyang Qingxiang and those from Lu Ming's faction. Supreme Universe's gaze swept across Ouyang Qingxiang and Hai Lu Chong and the others, revealing a ferocious killing intent. Who else wants to surrender? If you surrender to the indestructible sword sect, I won't pursue the matter. At this moment, the sect leader of the inextinguishable sword sect stepped out. The Kongxian sect was also a strong force, and they were envious of them. If you join the boundless sacred land, I won't pursue the matter. The boundless holy land's lord spoke. In the Kongxian sect, the eyes of some people flickered. Some people were tempted. If they insisted on going against the major forces, only death would await them. If they surrendered, they would still have a chance to live. They had cultivated for so many years and had extremely long lifespans. Once they reached the martial immortal realm, they could live for a star year. Who would be willing to be killed? You want us to be traitors? Don't even think about it. Once we become traitors, we'll have to bear the infamy of eternity. Not only ourselves, but our future generations will also be unable to lift their heads. We're definitely not traitors. You can give up on this idea. Yu Wuya roared in anger. These words made the faces of some of the Supreme Clan members turn red with shame, and some of the people who had wanted to surrender began to hesitate. Yes, once they betrayed, they would have to bear a lifetime of infamy. Others would not dare to say it in front of them, but they would definitely point fingers behind their backs. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The eyes of the Demonic Academy's college chief turned cold as he looked at Yu Wuya. Then he slashed his demonic sword at Yu Wuya. This sword was extremely powerful. Yu Wuya's expression was extremely serious. He used all his strength to attack, wanting to block this sword. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.